refer to the committee, are you referring to our committee?
The Joint Congressional Oversight
I
Committee.
don't think that we have that power.
Oh.
And we don't have that power, unfortunately. You make a justification that we have that power, I'll be supporting that. But I don't think we have that power. Second issue, is there a possibility that the thermal paper, which would be the subject of your procurement, might not be compatible with the machine, assuming that there will be a different supplier other than Smartmatic?
Well, there is always a possibility, but when we did the bidding, though, in terms of the specs, we made sure that it would be compatible. So, mitigated po yan.
Mr. Chairman, actually, I agree with Congressman Bersaga. We don't have the authority to give a blessing to an emergency purchase by the COMELEC. But my personal conclusion or opinion is we will have an emergency if, because of the course of action that you have decided to take, delivery will be on April 20, 2015, and if that is the contingency plan, the confusing plan that you intend to disseminate to the BEI, then we will really have an emergency. So maybe you have an emergency on your hands. So can you not decide as a commission and bank? Analyze the situation?
We are, Mr. Chairman, but again, let me just be clear with respect to the record. This is not the course of action we wanted to take. In a way, we were compelled to do it. And perhaps what would help is if the committee right now will tell us, you believe that there is an emergency, and maybe we can weigh that and take that into account when we make a decision as to whether or not we will still proceed with the regular bidding or go through an alternative mode of procurement.
Mr. Chairman, do you have a detailed plan on how to distribute all these thermal papers throughout the country, throughout the 92 precincts from day one as it arrives on April 21 up to May 8? No, I don't think that they can do it on May 9. Do you have a detailed plan on how to do it? Can we have a copy of that detailed plan?
Well, again, I know there's a detailed plan, but I'd like to ask my colleague who heads our Packing and Shipping Committee, Commissioner Sheriff Abbas, to respond to the query of Congressman Erice.
Chairman, may I be recognized? Actually, sir, we have a...
Yes, you are recognized and welcome. I did not recognize you actually earlier. So this is how you look.
Yes, actually, we have a presentation, if you will allow us, for the detailed deployment of the paraphernalias, including the machines. May I request?
We are more interested on the thermal paper. Mr. Chairman, I think they have already presented their plan in the deployment of the machines. It's only the thermal paper that we are interested in.
What is your pleasure then? You do not want the presentation anymore?
I think they have already repeatedly presented their plan for deployment of voting machines, paraphernalias. I've heard that several times, but I'm interested in the thermal paper.
Commissioner Abbas, na we have established earlier that separate schedules and plans yung machine, so official ballot, and even the additional thermal paper. The question is on the, from Congressman Erice, on the additional thermal paper.
On the additional, sir, we already communicated that to the winning bidder, which is to go. And we have contingency plan. And part of the contingency plan is they are already talking with the major airline companies, the PAL, as well as the Cebu PAC, para mag-allot ng space just in case ililipad namin yung thermal paper, sir. And they are also talking to other government agencies, the AFP and the PNP, as well as the Coast Guard, para tumulong po sa deployment ng natitirang thermal paper. Sa aming palagay, sir, kaya pa po. Kaya pa naman siya i-distribute kung April 20. But yung April 20 na schedule ng back, pwede rin yun siya paikliin. Like the signing of the contract, the negotiation, pwede pa pong mapaikli yung panahon. And then we have sufficient time to deploy the thermal paper.
Because you will be delivering the thermal paper to how many offices of the treasurer? Ilan yan? How many? Siyempre, na-compute na ninyo yan. Ilan po?
81 provincial treasurers.
Sa provincial treasurer bang ang ending nito? O sa municipal treasurer?
Yes, sir, because it is non-accountable forms.
Treasurer, provincial? And city? Provincial and city?
Yes, sir, part of it are cities.
Meaning, for example, how can you calibrate the delivery of the, because the provincial treasurers will be delivering all documents, all the voting machines to respective precincts before May 8, of course. Before May 8 to all municipal offices.
Yes, sir.
Maybe you're just computing the delivery of the thermal paper to provincial treasurers, but how about the treasurer's office distributing it to each precinct? What is the time frame for that?
Okay, sir, we plan to deliver it on May 5 on the provincial treasurers, and then up to May 7, i-deliver naman namin sa municipal treasurers yung mga additional thermal papers. So sa amin palagay, sir, kaya talaga. Kaya pa naman namin.
May 5 to May 7 from province to municipality? That's the timetable?
Yes, sir. Yes.
But who's doing the legwork now from province to the municipality? COMELEC pa rin o ipapakiusap ninyo na yan sa provincial treasurer?
Treasurers na, sir. Treasurers.
Alam na nila yan?
Papa.
They have committed to do it?
Yes, sir. With also with our providers, sir.
Together with the ballots na yan, di ba?
Yes,
Together
sir.
with the ballots? Tama ba pag-intindi ko?
Apa.
Okay, that's the plan, ha? Congressman Irise, are you satisfied with the answer? Congressman Tino?
Chair, kaunay lang dun sa reconfiguration of EMS being necessary because of the requirement to print the ballots. You mentioned you could not turn off the screen because that would entail changing the source code. So that implies, are you saying then that the activation of the printing feature does not involve a change in the source code?
It does not. Yung nga po yung sabi kanina ni Senator Pimentel, right now the machine is configured so much so that you can have on-screen verification alone, but if you need to print the receipt, you must have some form of on-screen verification. You cannot print the receipt alone unless you change the source code.
But what assurance does the public have that no source code changes are being made in order to activate the printing feature?
No, there is none. There is no, there is continuing source code review being conducted at De La Salle University by the political parties. Also, the source code has already been deposited at the Bangko Sentral, so there are no changes to the source code being done.
Could we hear from Smartmatic, perhaps, Mr. Chair, on what exactly is involved in activating the printing feature of the machines? And if no source code change is needed, then why must the EMS be reconfigured?
Good morning, Your Honor. With regards to the activation of the printing feature of the VCMs, we have to do a change in the parameters that are configured in the EMS. In the EMS, we start all the configuration for the whole election, the ballots, the CCS, and the VCMs. there are a set of global parameters that applies to all the VCMs. The only thing that is different from VCM to VCM is the candidates, the positions, and the total number of voters, no? Plus the regional information. But parameters like whether or not to print the receipt, it's something that is enabled or disabled by a parameter in the configuration of the EMS. So that's easily done. The downside of doing that is that you have to reconfigure the machines every time you change a parameter in the EMS.
So basically, there's an on-off switch in the software that has to be changed,
Yes, Your Honor.
and that's why you have to reconfigure the EMS.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Garcia, and when we say that we reconfigured something, we did not touch the source code. Is that
Correct,
correct?
Your Honor.
Okay. Okay. So,
Chair, if I may, I'll just add one
Yes, Attorney
specific
Mena.
answer to the question of Congressman Tino. To ensure that there's no change in the source code, this is something that the public can verify. The trusted build and source code that was deposited with the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas has a hash code that is unique to that specific source code. That hash code will appear in all of the vote counting machines that will be used in the elections. So anyone can check because it appears on the screen once it's turned on. And the election results that are also, or the election returns that are printed by the vote counting machines will also contain that hash code. So anyone can check if it's the same source code that was deposited with the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas.
Chairman Bautista, we will deploy some VCMs for overseas voting, right? Did the Supreme Court decision on the issuance of paper receipts cover overseas voting involving VCMs?
It covers all,
Okay,
Your
so
Honor.
how will you be able to comply if delivery will be on April 20 and the voting will start April 9?
We already have some thermal rolls for our, a limited number, which we will be deploying. So it can cover because it's not too many for the overseas foreign voting.
So parang meron kayong spare or
May spare
surplus
po.
na nagkasya sa 1 million, you have projected the quantity needed for 1 million plus voters.
Tama po
So
yan.
covered na, okay. That's good news. Attorney Chong, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few suggestions on the problem that the COMELEC is painting here. But in the first place, Your Honor, before the Supreme Court decided the case of Gordon, they were all raising all those warnings like there's going to be failure of elections, there's going to be postponement of elections, there's no credible elections. Would this not be sufficient in their minds to create an emergency as to justify the purchase of these paper rolls? Now, we would like to inform this committee also, Mr. Chair, that Attorney Inky Reyes, myself, and 5 others here have made these proposed rules in the orderly implementation of the voter verification process using the voter receipt as a way of contributing instead of creating more problems for the COMELEC. We have submitted a copy to this to committee and also to the COMELEC. Now, in Section 6 of these proposed rules, it says here that after the ballot is cast, the following procedure shall be followed. If no ambiguities are observed in the LCD screen, that is in the LCD verification process, meaning to say there's no overvote, there's no undervote, the BEI that is standing near the VCM and is assisting the voters shall encourage the voter to press the green confirmation key in order to eliminate duplicity in the voter verification process and save time. I think that's a more reasonable solution, Your Honor, than racking their brains for how to limit the default time. Because if the teacher is there, the teacher can always adjust to the exigencies as it is presented. Like, for example, if the voter does not do anything, then the teacher will press the green button and get your receipt and go forward so that the flow will proceed smoothly. On the other hand, if he has problems, we have also here, if the ambiguities are observed in the LCD screen, the BEI shall assist the voter in the immediate retrieval of his or her ballot if the voter desires to correct and facilitate the appropriate correction where possible Otherwise, the BAI shall proceed as provided in Section 6A hereof. That's then you press that green button and go on. So I think the committee should look at these suggestions. We have already given a copy to this committee, Your Honor.
Add to their Holy Week reading.
It's not quite long, Your Honor, but
Yes,
it
sir.
covers all the significant, all the segments of the entire voting process, covering printing of the receipt, individual voter review.
Okay lang naman kasi you still have a draft supplemental. So draft.
They can incorporate this, Your Honor,
Let's
with
make
the
a
rules.
strong for the.
No, it's not only my
it's a
work.
group. It's a group.
It's
effort.
our group, Your Honor.
Thank
It's
you
not
to
only
all
mine.
of the.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
Meron silang proposal. Yes.
I'm more concerned on the time of how much time will a voter consume under this new system. Before, without the receipt, how much time is in your time and motion study?
If I, again, interaction with the machine, I think was 20 seconds. Without the receipt and without on-screen verification.
After we introduced this,
With the on-screen verification, I think it added about 25 seconds. And now with the receipt, it will be about a minute plus. Yun ang aming estimate. Because it also differs from voter to voter, because some know how to operate the machine or know how to push certain buttons or cursors. Also, in respect of, again, you have to look at the space within which the voter is able to read the receipt. Again, there are classrooms which are big, in which case there is space for them to really step aside in order for others to vote, but there are some also which are very small. So there are a lot of considerations that need to be taken into account. But just to, Mr. Chairman, again, we welcome suggestions and recommendations from groups in respect of how to implement. Although an immediate comment that comes to mind is if we ask the Board of Election Inspectors to tell the voter to already print or to push the green button, is that not interference? And is that not, again, a violation of privacy and other, as you know, here again, there is a balancing of rights that we need to always take into account in formulating the rules. But as I said, we welcome all these suggestions.
Meaning that from 20 seconds to about a minute or more than a minute, so it will be more than twice the time.
That is correct, and that's what we were pointing out to the Supreme Court. I think that the election provider also wrote us a letter stating that the voting process can last for about 20 hours. So,
Yes.
we're looking for ways again as to how we can mitigate that.
And also, I heard that there will be a downtime of the machine when it changes the roll.
That is correct.
And how many minutes, how many times that it will change the roll? For example, if you have 400 to 500 voters per precinct.
Right. I understand that each roll can accommodate 60 voters. So if it's 500, then it will be 8 to 9 times that there will be a downtime. And the downtime could last for about 5 minutes each time. So that would, again, if there is a long line, that would entail inconvenience and discomfort to the voters who are queued.
And I also heard that if the manner how you pull the receipt, the machine will automatically stop.
There is a possibility of paper jam, although what we're looking to do, Congressman Elise, is to use scissors so that there will be no paper jam. But one other thing now that we are grappling with is the need for a fourth person to help in the process in order to guard the box that will contain all the receipts. And we want that box to be situated near the exit. As you know that the 3 BIs are already busy with their respective functions, we will need a fourth person, and we are thinking as to whether we can get one of the civil society organizations, our Citizens Arms, to help us in this regard. But as you know, it's not easy to field personnel in 92,509 precincts all over the country.
And also, that means that the voter will have to cut his own receipt.
Right now, what we're looking at is that one of the teachers will be cutting the receipt for the voter without looking at the receipt. Again, the teacher will be at the back of the machine, and that when the receipt comes out, he or she will fold it and then cut it. But another thing that they will have to do is to place the indelible ink, and we're thinking whether we should place the indelible ink at that point in time, or do we place it when they're about to exit? Another issue that has come up is that can a non-BI member place the indelible ink, or can we get a watcher or a Citizens Arm member to place the indelible? So there are a lot of these practical issues and considerations that we are currently thinking about in preparation for the upcoming elections.
When will be your mock elections?
We already finished our mock elections last February 13. What we will be having is a transmission readiness test, which I think is being scheduled sometime mid-April, about mid-April.
Don't you think that you need another mock elections to determine the possible consequences of these changes?
I have stated for the record that, again, the more practice we have, the better. No? But it's also not simple to just conduct a mock elections. It entails not just expenses, but logistical preparation. With the transmission readiness test, there will also be a mini, I would say, I don't want to call it a mock election because under the law, I think once there is a certification by the TEC, that happens only after the mock election is conducted. And we believe we already conducted the mock election. So, but we will have...
But they're completely a different... a different situation here.
Like I said, the receipt was a curveball that was thrown at us, and we're dealing with it.
Congressman Ortega.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a while ago, Mr. Chairman, you mentioned the long lines and the long waiting time because of all of these intricacies and things about these elections for this year. And so it just called to my mind, again, the request of all the senior citizens and disabled persons to have a special line in all the voting areas. I'm speaking of this because only recently I had several meetings with senior citizens in my province, and that is their concern. If it is a very long line, it's not that they do not have the patience, but they will not have the resistance to be standing up for so long a time and all that.
Rest assured, Congressman Ortega, that there will be a separate line for our senior citizens and PWDs in all the voting centers all over the country. Also, some of the other initiatives that we are pioneering this election is that we have improved signages, wherein we are going to post signages so that there will be less confusion on voting day. Also, it may interest you to know that we have entered into a memorandum of agreement with the Department of Health. They will be setting up medical assistance desks in at least 20 polling centers in each province, and particularly polling centers that are congested and or have a lot of senior citizens and PWD. So just in case may mahihilo, merong tataas yung blood pressure, meron po tayong first aid. Aside from that, they also have allocated 10 million medical assistance in case there will be an emergency for election workers, meaning the teachers, COMELEC field personnel, the AFP, the PNP, if they need to be rushed to a hospital, there is money that was laid out by the DOH for that purpose.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Congressman Tino.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, two things. First of all, since you're coming out with the supplemental general instructions, and your training for your BEIs is almost completed, no? I believe they started March 1 and should be ending either this week or next week. So, in the presentation, Commissioner Lee mentioned something about refresher course and additional training. When exactly do you intend or plan to conduct these additional training?
We intend to conduct that, Your Honor, after April 9, because by April 9, all the trainings for the Board of Canvassers will be completed. So the election officers will be now free to conduct the refresher course. We intend to do this at the school level concerning the particular BEIs, Your Honor.
So, after April 9, but you don't have a specific date yet?
Not yet, Your Honor.
And this will just be one day,
Your
training?
Honor. Yes, Your
Okay.
Honor.
My second question will be with regard to the extension of voting hours. Is that already final? You mentioned that voting will now start from 6 and
To 5.
up to 5 p.m. instead of 7 to 3, hindi po ba?
7 to 5, Your Honor.
7 to 5.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so an extension by
1 hour.
1 hour. Okay.
It's in the proposed general instruction, Your Honor. It will be up to the NBank to approve that, Your Honor.
Well, although, as you know, Congressman Tino, on the day itself, it is possible for the NBank to extend the voting hours depending on the number of voters, no? But really what we would like to do is to encourage our voters to vote early and not to wait until the last minute. Again, we were told that, in reality, there are a lot of voters who mill around the voting centers not wanting to vote at a late stage because they're still waiting for certain things to materialize. And this is the kind of behavior we would like to discourage. And so, hopefully, again, they would vote while there is still daylight. And that is really the main purpose behind this move to fix the schedule.
Thank you for that, Mr. Chair. And since there will be an additional hour of work, in other words, parang overtime ito, meron po bang additional compensation para sa election workers? Do you have provision for that, Mr. Chair?
Kami naman po, kung gusto, alam mo, we really believe that the Board of Election inspectors, they are really the frontliners in our elections, no? And we would like to compensate them as much as we can, no? In fact, the bill that was passed by the House and the Senate, that was forwarded to us for comment, and as we said, we interposed no objection, provided that, as I said, it is clear where the money to pay them is identified. Yun lang ang aming but kami wala po kaming objection po sa pagbibigay ng mas maraming benepisyo sa ating mga guro who serve as Board of Election Inspectors.
Well, I think, Mr. Chair, especially since there's additional work that will be required of all the election workers, especially the BEI, maybe the Commission can take that into consideration. And I believe there's precedent in the previous election, the Commission gave additional honoraria to teachers, something like 500 pesos after the elections. No? So baka pwedeng
that was in the 2013 barangay elections, no? Because the allotment given to us by DBM for the 2013 automated elections was going to lapse within the same year. And what we did, we had savings then. So we proposed to DBM that if we could give this as additional honorary rather than having that appropriation lapse. No? And that's why we were able, and when they gave their consent, we were able to trickle down an additional 500. But definitely, Your Honor, we will look into giving additional honoraria, Your Honor.
Thank you for that, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Congressman Elise?
Yes, I think the provision is for 1 day one-day service, you have to pay a certain amount to our teachers. But if it exceeds one day, then you have to pay for another day.
Talagang kailangan is that really we need the help, I think, of the House, especially because, as we know, the House has the power of the purse. As I said, we interpose no objection into giving more money to our teachers. But we need a law, we need the House to provide for such appropriation to be given to the teachers.
Congressman
Well,
Tino.
Mr. Chair, I would just like to mention there is already a law, in fact, and I would like to thank the Chair for making possible the passage of the Election Service Reform Act. But as we know, it's still on the President's desk awaiting his signature. But there is already, in fact, a mandate in that law for increase in honoraria. I just wanted to mention that.
No, we are aware po. And as I said, we interposed no objection, as I said, in respect of the law, provided that the funding source would be identified. No? And for example, with respect to this issue of voting receipts, it entails costs to the Commission which were not envisioned when our budget was passed. So, and we do recognize that now it is almost impossible to call for a special session in this regard. So we are scripting and finding ways and means by which we can cover the costs for the provisioning of the voting receipts, including para din po sa ating mga teachers.
Mr. Chairman, would you, how much would it cost the Commission for this additional requirement? The total, no, all of it, including the cost of delivery of thermal papers, scissors, and I think you will need an additional personnel to man the ballot boxes, the receptacles. And I think you have to purchase receptacles.
Ang aming initial, although it is a ballpark estimate, was over 200 million, but let us come back to the committee on that. I saw an estimate, but I thought it was too, it didn't contain enough detail. We will come back to the committee as to what the costs of the voting receipts would entail.
Just a follow-up. Where will you get the money?
Sa ano po? COMELEC savings.
Baka hindi kaya tayo ma-question dyan? Because you have been questioned several times regarding the source of funding. Although you have the money, others would be saying that there is no appropriation for that, and you cannot use that money augment without any specific appropriation. Is there no danger to that point?
There is always a danger, and we were hoping that the committee would give its blessing to us to help mitigate the danger.
Well, definitely. And I was really happy that I heard the statement of my colleague, Glennon, that he is supportive of this receipts and of this practice. Glenchong. So we will expect that there will be no petition coming from former Congressman Glenchong.
Attorney Chong, just commitment that you will not question the expenditure.
Ganito po, sir. The Caesar actually came from me, and I demonstrated it in the Supreme Court that there's actually a very simple solution to the cutting the receipt. You just simply flip it over and cut. Now, I posted on social media yung price ng child-friendly scissor. It's only 10 pesos. Yung sa kanila ho, 12 pesos. Okay na lang ho yun kasi kahit may 2 pesos na dagdag. So I will not be asking those answer questions. But
10
sir,
pesos. 10 pesos na 12 pesos.
12 ba? 10. Okay, no problem. Magkasundo tayo dyan.
So that the nation will know, we are renting the machines at 38,858 per unit. The second batch, 47,759 pesos per unit. And yet we need to buy scissors. That's the rental cost of the machine, 38,000 and 47,000, and we need scissors. No. Ready, the machines print something, not paper receipts, but ERs. So therefore, anticipated na yun that there will be paper to be cut. Anyway, that is already a decision. I think that former Commissioner Larrazabal wants to say something. Attorney Goyo. And then we'll go to Attorney Reyes, then to June Aguilar. So Attorney Reyes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to express just a slight concern on the evidentiary value of the receipt, since the Supreme Court rightfully recognized that there is no more time to alter the source code, so that the other features, security features, may be put in the receipt, such as the date, the precinct, and the hash code. There was a statement issued in the media by a certain attorney, Rona Caritos, that the paper receipt will not have evidentiary value. Well, we beg to disagree, Your Honor, and we would like to recommend to the Commission on Elections, if they will adopt our recommendation, to give it evidentiary value. We should put it in the corrugated box or the ballot box in which the receipts will be put. There should be a marking there on the exact precinct that the receipts are going to be put into, so that when you do any matching, Your Honor, it will definitely match with the ballots from that precinct and the receipts from that precinct. Because our concern here is, when we present this to the Commission, this will, Your Honor, this will be our only evidence in case of a protest, one of our only evidences. And we really need to be able to ascertain that the receipts that were issued for this precinct will match with the ballots that were also designated for that precinct. That is our recommendation, Your Honor, so that there will be evidentiary value.
Is that already here?
That is actually in our proposed
rules. Okay, so thank you for highlighting that.
Sir, if I may respond to that, no, we'll be using the boxes for the ballots. No, it's a corrugated box, and on that there are the identifying, the precinct numbers, the barangay, the polling place are also contained in that corrugated box. No, in the ballot. So that's what we, and our proposed procedure is that after the close, the VIs will seal the corrugated box with packing tape. They will sign on the packing tape, and the corrugated box will be placed inside the ballot box.
Your Honor, may I?
Inside the ballot box?
Yes, Your Honor.
Kasha pala. Kasha yun, ano?
Kasha, we tested
Yes, Attorney Reyes.
Yeah, I just wanted to also recommend that even the ballot box where the receipts will be put will be specifically marked and sealed. If you're going to use the old ballot box, perhaps the padlock will also be there.
So we're using the new ballot box?
No, we're not using the old. What we're going to use, Your Honor, is the ballot packaging for the official ballots. Because when you remove the ballots for distribution, you now have a black corrugated box which contains the precinct numbers and all this. And that's where they will
properly labeled na yun.
Yes, Your Honor.
But after you take that, where will you put it?
In the ballot box.
In the ballot box.
Yes, Your Honor.
Together with the official ballots,
Your Honor.
Attorney Reyes, yun yung sinabi niya.
That's the only assurance we wanted, because just in case in the future, and this is for all candidates, no, they will be able to use that as evidence to match the receipts with the actual ballots. Yun lang ang point namin, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman. Si Congressman Pino muna. Okay.
Yeah, clarificatory question. With respect to using the paper receipts as evidence in any protest, my understanding earlier from the description of the chair is that it would be a simple receipt. And would there be, in this receipt, would there be any way to tie this receipt to a specific ballot?
No.
So not...
None.
So, I don't really understand how, unless you have a procedure when someone makes a protest, then the BEI would probably have to make a note on the receipt, this is the ballot of, so and so. But otherwise, I don't see how there can be,
Mr. Chairman.
that limits the evidentiary value, doesn't it? I don't know.
Yeah. Mr. Chair,
Attorney Reyes respond.
actually, you cannot really identify the receipt, Your Honor, with the particular ballot. That would be violating also ballot secrecy. But we're looking at the overall tally, because the tally of all the receipts should match the tally of all the ballots. In other words, so it's not, that's evidentiary value. So if there is a discrepancy as to the number of votes a candidate received in respect of the receipts and the ballots, then you can verify. Itatali lahat yung ballots, itatali lahat ng receipts, then you can match. That's the
Parang it's a request for the COMELEC to now also revisit their rules for protests.
Yes.
To accommodate the evidentiary value of the paper receipt.
to give it evidentiary value.
Give it
Because
evidentiary
the
value.
Supreme Court in its decision recognized that the receipt now becomes official election paraphernalia, which is why the Supreme Court said you cannot take it out of the precinct. Because if it's not official election paraphernalia, then we should be able to take it out. But since it is already official election paraphernalia, then it should be given evidentiary value for protest. And, Your Honor, this will apply to all candidates. They will want to know, they will want to be able to use that as evidence.
Mr. Chairman, we don't have a choice, no? Because the Supreme Court has clearly ruled that the receipts are the best raw source of data, no? So we really have to consider the receipts, no? To comply with the Supreme Court decision.
Mr. Chairman,
Congressman.
in that case, we have to really protect that receptacle.
Yes, Your Honor.
And somebody must guard it from the Board of Inspectors, and not just somebody.
Actually, in the proposed GI, Your Honor, we are, the first intendment is for since certain precincts will have a support staff, no? It will be either the support staff or the teacher who will be guarding the receptacle for the deposit of the voting receipts. Now, in cases where we only have 3 BIs, that's what we are looking for the citizens' arm to assist us in that.
But this guard must be accountable.
Yes, Your Honor.
So he has to sign. So he has to be a member of the board.
Actually, technically, yes, Your Honor, but yeah.
Mr. Aguilar, is it about this issue? And then, okay, sige. Mr. Aguilar, and then Attorney Larzaban.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nandito po kami, ang Filipino Migrant Workers Group at ang ibang grupo na ang concern naman po ay sa overseas voting. Of course, alam po namin, and during the presentation, nakita namin na yung resibo ay hindi magiging available until April 20 or April 21. Now, the absentee voting will start on April 9. So, gusto lamang po namin makasiguro na ito ay matutuloy on April 9 ng walang delay, it's an assurance from the chairman of COMELEC that this is going to be an all systems go for overseas absentee voting. Secondly, Mr. Chair, nabanggit nyo po yung proseso na gugupitin ng CSOR. And we are renting a machine that is almost an average of 40,000 pesos. That is why kami po mga OFW ay nababahala rito sapagkat imagine, arkila tayo, hindi tayo bumibili. Arkila lamang po ito. At that amount, pagkatapos, it's not even capable of cutting the paper. Kaya nga po sabi ko, ang COMELEC nagdesisyon to rent 6.2 billion from Smartmatic na hindi namin po maintindihan na yung mga binili na natin nung una na 82,000 PCOS machines na nandoon at ginagastosan natin yung pag-maintain at pag-warehouse, pagkatapos mag-aarkila tayo ng 6.2 billion which cannot be even capable of cutting the paper trail or yung paper rolls. So, ito po yung nakakabahala. I'm sure every Filipino who is watching right now, nakakabahala po yung ganito.
Mr. Chairman, Simple, it's not in the terms of reference. How can the supplier supply something that's not in the terms of reference?
The Congressman Eri said, anyway, I will pursue this after the elections, na yung second part. Now, because the machines are required to print ERs, 32 copies, ilang?
30.
30 copies. So definitely, you will have to cut the copies. Anyway, that's for the, but categorical daw statement, a request to Mr. Aguilar for the April 9 start.
April 9.
Who's in charge of the overseas voting? Okay, the other Commissioner Lim.
Well, good morning, Your Honors, Mr. Chairman. To answer the question of the gentleman over there, I would like to state preliminarily that my initial reaction to the Supreme Court decision was to mull over the advisability of recommending postponement at least for overseas voting, because my personal position has always been to the effect that either you are able to hold credible elections or you do not hold election at all, because an election that cannot assure credible result will in fact foster more instability. And personally, I would not want the country to descend into civil strife. Passions are already high, resulting from a very closely contested election. Nonetheless, I yielded to the wisdom of the en banc and adopted the posture that although this is something externally imposed upon the Commission, resulting from a decision which personally I believe to be unsound, operationally, practically, and technically. Nonetheless, as I said, I yielded to the wisdom of the en banc. So the consensus was to just try to mitigate and look on May 9 as something immovable. And with respect to overseas, April 9 to May 9 as something cast in stone. We cannot postpone that anymore. To go to the point now, I would like to assure the gentleman that all the BCMs that have already been deployed overseas, 129 in all, for 30 posts, corresponding to 1,100,000 voters, will be used, and the election will be held between April 9 and May 9. All these machines have been there. The SD cards have been brought back and already reconfigured and sent back. The thermal paper is in the machines already because we have been able to utilize the original thermal paper that was in the Smartmatic machines in the first place. I hope I am stating it correctly, Mr. Moreno. So as far as overseas voting is concerned, it is all systems go. Having said that, I would like to state the caveat that with respect to retraining of the BEIs, we will still be undertaking that. So the retraining or training is critical, because if you give a person who without knowledge at all about how to operate the machine, even the simplest of procedure would not be implemented. And so we are taking very great risks, but we are doing so now, remedying those on a positive and optimistic mindset. So to reiterate, as far as overseas voting is concerned, it is all systems go, and I can only hope and pray that it will be a successful exercise, and that the total number of registered voters, 1,386,000 something, would translate into also a very big turnout, which is really the more important aspect of voting. You can have a big number of registered voters, but if the turnout is small, it amounts to nothing. And may I just close, Mr. Chairman, by saying that in 2013, the turnout was just 16%. The total number of registered voters was something like 700,000. we have breached the 1 million mark. It's now almost 1,000,004. And Undersecretary Segis of DFA has set a standard for us, 80% turnout. Well, we are one with him in aiming for that, although realistically maybe if we can get between 60 to 80% turnout, that would already be very good. So we are hoping for the support of all groups, especially the group represented by the gentleman, to convince our people overseas to come out and vote between April 9 and May 9. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, so mayroong resibo din. The Vice Chairman of the Overseas Voting Secretariat is here. The DFA representative, Mr. Edgardo Castro. Maybe you can also brief us as to the status of the overseas voting system from the point of view of the Secretariat.
Good morning. Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, I would like to echo the statement of Commissioner Lim that as of our plans and schedule jointly with COMELEC, all systems go for us to start elections abroad, April 9. In fact, I just returned yesterday from New York. We have just concluded the training for the American posts. We did it in two parts. First part was in San Francisco, and the second part in New York. We have also just concluded training for our automated posts in Europe. The first part took place in Madrid, and the second part in Rome. However, the decision from the Supreme Court regarding the VVPAT came out on the day that our training team was about to leave for San Francisco and Madrid. So therefore, the training conducted at the said areas, the first four places, did not include the module for the use of the VVPAT. My understanding is that COMELEC has already set a schedule for this training, and we will endeavor to implement it as soon as possible. Thank you very much, Chairman.
I ask a few questions about the machines, not the deployment of the machines. 129 machines will be used for 30 posts. Tama po yun?
Yes, Your Honor, for automated.
Yes. How many backup machines will also be sent abroad?
Around 10, I think, per...
So it's plus 10.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm just... I'm accounting for all the machines. Later, I will ask questions about the number of the machines. So, Commissioner Arthur Lim, so correct me if my data are wrong. No? So we have sent 129 machines for 30 posts plus 10 machines as backup units.
May I clarify that, Your Honor? I think there is a backup of one machine
per post.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tama ba yun? One machine per post, so 30. Kasi alam mo, we have to account for all the machines. That's why later I will ask how many machines.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then we will have to account for all. May I get the correct answer, please?
One backup machine per post, Your Honor.
So how many nga? How many? 30?
30.
So lagi ko. So there is a post which only requires one machine and then you gave it one backup machine. Ganun po yun?
Yes, Your Honor.
That is our confidence in the machine.
Well,
that we need to back up one machine.
We would like to assure really that there will be no failure, Your Honor, of elections.
While in the domestic voting, what is our ratio? One backup machine for how many number of machines?
It's not the ratio of one backup machine, Your Honor, for how many machines. I just like to give you a outlook of the total number of machines. The total number of machines is 97,877. There will be 92,509 precincts in the Philippines, 129 machines deployed for overseas voting. Of the remainder, we have 5,235 contingency machines. Of the 5,235 contingency machines, about more or less 1,700 will be deployed at the canvassing site in case of failure of transmission, wherein the BEI can use the machine at the canvassing site so they can transmit to the Board of Canvassers. Then we have a remainder of 3,535 machines as contingency. We intend to distribute this, Your Honor, more on the depending on the population of the population of the particular city or municipality, Your Honor. But as it is, it would come out as if you have 1 or 2 contingency machines per city or municipality. But for bigger areas, we can allocate 3. Then the others we can reduce to 1.
When you have finally decided on the deployment, you will publish this, right? So we should have access on...
Yes, Your Honor, under Republic Act 9369, we should be published and furnish that 15 days before elections, Your Honor.
Okay, because we should be able to account to know where all of the machines are deployed. So, Dr. Arwin Serrano.
Yes, good morning, Your Honors. With regards to our vote counting machine, it is not true that the vendor did not put into consideration that a particular receipt will not be cut properly, because in the BI training, even the cutting of different reports and election returns are cut through the serrated edge of the vote counting machine. So it's not true that they did not put that into consideration. What we are considering here is that a regular voter, whether that voter is a senior citizen or a person with disability voter, or a voter that has little educational background, can cut properly the receipt that will be issued by the vote counting machine. So to be able to also consider those factors, a scissor would be employed to cut properly. Not that the machine cannot cut the receipt properly, but even the teachers who are very knowledgeable already are included in the training, the proper cutting of the receipts, both election returns and also different kinds of reports. Second, I would like also to point out that these special features of the vote counting machine is included in the new model, in the SAS 1800 Plus, which are not included in the former PCOS machine, size 1800. So when COMELEC knew about these special features, they tried their very best to take into consideration the use of both on-screen verification and also the issuance of receipt. Apparently, since they truly believe that the former ruling of the Supreme Court already suffice, but they still considered that particular study. So when this particular scenario happens out of the ruling of the Supreme Court, then we already found out that in order for the issuance of the receipt to be generated from the machine, the OSB feature has also to be used. So it's not that the vote counting machine is to be fault on, or the vendor to be fault on, but also the timeline, also the very short timeline with regards to the ruling of the Supreme Court. And as what Chairman Bautista and the other commissioners have been telling, hindi porket nakapag-election tayo ng May 9, sapat na. Ang importante rito, yung nakapag-election tayo ng credible. Kaya yun yung ine-emphasize eh. Hindi naman yung hindi pumapayag, sumasalungat, hindi sumusunod, nagbabanta, china-challenge yung mga stakeholders. Hindi yun eh. Kundi what are they trying to say is that to hold a credible elections, that all stakeholders, all candidates, all the people in the Philippines will agree on the results come after May 9 national and local elections. So yun lang yung ine-emphasize. I hope the other stakeholders would also consider the real statements emanating from COMELEC at hindi yung parang binibira pa natin, parang china-challenge pa natin, parang kinukutya pa natin, parang pinagtatawanan pa natin, parang hindi rin tayo sumusunod sa sa mga institutions na ating ini-establish. Kung magkaganon man di ano na mangyayari sa atin. So I hope we are also very careful in all our pronouncements, in all our statements. In fact, Your Honor, patapos lang dito. Out of these different stakeholders, kami yung medyo lugi Bakit? Kasi the teachers, the watchers of the political parties are also receiving something But the PPCRB volunteers, from the very start, we are already saying that we are volunteers. We're not receiving anything. And yet, we're one of those who are very active and very serious and very focused in our responsibility as an accredited citizen's arm. So I hope that everyone should realize that and not to just to say something lang para lang mapuna. So I will still be hearing the statements of the different stakeholders here around, including our congressman and our beloved senator chairing this. So maraming salamat.
Thank you for that reminder. But I'd like to commend our resource persons this morning, Chairman Batista. They have all been well behaved. Senatorial candidate Toots Ople, who is taking a break from campaigning. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, the Ople Center has some suggestions to offer in relation to the overseas absentee voting. We basically have 10 working days before April 9. So this is a matter of concern to us. For example, the COMELEC issued bulletin number 2, 2016, wherein all registered overseas voters in the different embassies and consulates, especially in the US and I think also in Japan, who desire to receive their ballots through the mail are requested to submit their request on or before April 22. So if they do not state their request that they want to receive the ballots by mail, they will, their request after April 22 shall no longer be entertained. Ang concern po namin dito is that this isn't even widely disseminated and this could cause disenfranchisement of voters na hindi nila alam. They're still expecting their ballots to arrive by mail, yung pala merong ganito na bulletin. And we checked, we checked the different websites of our embassies and consulates, and we would like to cite an example. There's a lack of information, organized information and content about absentee voting on the websites of yung www.philippine-embassy.org for the USA, for example, where we have 179,241 registered overseas voters. The same with Saudi Arabia, where we have 216,000. Hindi po prominent yung content about absentee voting. And we hope that this can be immediately corrected and addressed. Kasi, and if you only, these are official websites na po. Ano pa po yung ibang, that's why my concern is, meron po ba tayong organized communications campaign to get them to vote on April 9? Kasi swing vote din po, potential swing vote, in a very tight race, yung overseas absentee voting natin. So, kahit po sa Facebook pages ng consulate natin sa Hong Kong, embassy sa Kuwait, UAE, Qatar, wala pong information, walang updates, walang common messages and content on OAV. Isa pa pong concern, yung changes sa voting time, will that also be followed by our post? Yung sinabi nyo na 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. So hindi, at least ma-advise din po yung ating mga potential voters. And then there are certain peculiarities po ngayon, sir. Marami po tayong members ng electorate, mga OFWs, na hindi rin makakaalis kaagad dahil nga sa unpaid salaries. This is unique in Saudi Arabia and other Gulf countries. Mahirapan sila mag-travel all the way. Sana ma-take into consideration din yan. Dito sa Pilipinas, you made an effort na merong voting inside the malls, di ba po? Baka you can also look at very specific efforts on how to get them to from their camps to our embassies. Kahit pa paano po, working with their employers, working with the civil society groups there, paano mas organize yung effort? Because of another second peculiarity, which is the tightening of security, yung mga security restrictions, especially following the Belgium suicide bombing. So all this should be factored in. How do you make it easier for our OFWs to vote given their high percentage increase in registration? So, yun lang po yung amin. Kung dito po magulo yung communications campaign, lalo na...
Can we explain the source of the confusion? Because, for example, in Japan, they implemented postal voting in the past 2 elections yata, and then now, mix, hybrid siya, postal and... Modified. Postal or personal appearance using VCM. Tama po ba yun? So, yun yata yung source ng confusion. Because by default, it's postal for them. Yes, Commissioner Arthur Lim.
Mr. Chairman, we will take note, and we have in fact noted all of these concerns, and this shall be properly discussed, and I shall present them to the NBank for consideration. These issues raised by Ms. Ople. May I just specifically point out one concern of hers, which is the earlier requirement that the voters should initially request that their ballots be sent to them. Otherwise, the embassy or the post will not be mailing to them these ballots under the system of modified postal voting. I have addressed that, Your Honor, when Director Balesa, our COMELEC Director for Overseas, called me up from San Francisco where they were conducting training precisely to bring out this problem because of the request that the ballots be already sent out by the post rather than for the post to await a particular request from the voters, because the possible time lag may result in disenfranchisement. And as head of the overseas voting for the Commission, I in fact have authorized through Director Balesa, who was then in the U.S., to adopt now this system whereby the ballots will actually be sent out instead of waiting for the request of our OFWs for their ballots to be mailed to them. So as far as that particular concern on possible disenfranchisement that you have raised, we addressed that already.
Sir, so can as yun pa rin pong original ang nakapost?
Tututukan natin yan. We will make sure, because I think this happened about a week ago, a week or 2 weeks ago. My attention was called to this particular problem, and I said, by all means, ipadala na yung mga balot. Bakit antayin pa yung request ng mga voter? Eh kung hindi mag-request, hindi mapadala, hindi makaboto.
Commissioner Lim, question. Kung pinapadala yung balot, you are envisioning the postal voting system?
Ang balot kasi po, pinapadala sa post.
Ipadala sa post. Okay, correct. Correct.
Nagpapa-disseminate.
Pero ang sabi kasi ni Toots Ople, April 22 pa, for example, sa Japan, ang deadline ng manifestation nila, whether they would avail of the postal voting mode or the personal VCM mode. Yan yun. So, it might be too late. Yan yata ang point niya. Because they do not know that by default, they have been used to postal. They do not expect that they need to make a certain manifestation before they can avail of postal. That's their
Inalis
sentiment.
na natin po, yung manifestation na yan, inalis na natin. Ipapadala na ng post yung mga balot, yung mga balota.
To the voters.
Yeah, and they are
Also,
in better position to do that because their database is more current, more updated, and they are actually there on the ground.
Oh, so what happens? We're back to postal. If
Modified postal.
paano malalaman ng post whom to send the ballots to?
Can I ask Director
Sige.
Valesa to...
Actually, sir, we send out the mailing labels, the ballot envelopes, the mailing pockets, the instructions to voters to all posts. And during the training, during the last 2 weeks, we instructed PCG, all posts in New York, in Americas and Canada, that they can send out the ballots without waiting for that request, based on the approval of my commissioner in charge, such that some of the posts, San Francisco is in fact preparing all the mailing ballots, mailing packets to be sent out to the voters. And all other posts are now preparing to send those packets to the voters.
So, they will be sending as a default mode.
Postal voting now will be the default, sir. Yes, sir.
And does San Francisco have a VCM?
Yes, sir.
Oh, so what will now be the use of the VCM?
Sir, the BCM, when the ballots are received by the post, it will be batch fed during Mondays and Thursdays, sir, by the SBEI. I-verify po muna ito that it will be batch fed by the SBEI, sir.
So naging counting ano na siya ng gadget na siya of the Special Board of Election Inspectors.
Yes, sir.
So that means that you are mailing the postal ballot is actually the same as the automated ballot.
Yes, sir.
So will not the folding of the ballot give you any problem?
We tested that, Your Honor. We tested 1,000 ballots before we decided that we can adopt postal voting using the AS ballots.
The post will fold the ballot and mail.
Yes, sir.
The voter will unfold the ballot and mark and then fold and then mail, and the machine will count it.
Yes, sir. We tested that, sir.
Okay, sure kayo ron, ha? Kasi akala ko ba the slightest mark on the ballot prompts the machine to reject the ballot. Okay, Attorney Chong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The PPCRB was praising the COMELEC, but we have reasons to express our fears. A while ago...
Attorney Chong, don't engage in a debate na.
No, sir. A while ago, sabi po ni Chairman Bautista that there will be no date in the voter receipt along with other security features.
Let's stick first to overseas voting muna.
Yes, sir.
So if you have another question, I'll recognize Toots Ople muna. I'll come back to you.
Okay, sige.
Yes, Miss Toots Ople.
Sir, procedural lang. So, kung ang batch fed, sabi nyo may schedule every
Mondays and Thursdays at 9 o'clock in the morning. Mondays and Thursdays.
specific lang na 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock and onwards, sir, ma'am, it depends on the number of ballots verified, received and verified by the SBRCGs and turned over to the SBEIs.
Yung concern ko lang yung, di ba dapat may present na poll watchers? I mean sa abroad, kung di man poll watchers, at least members ng PhilCom.
Actually, we invited all the political parties to send their watchers during the voting period. And in fact, some of the political parties already submitted their list of authorized representatives, including those authorized signatories to appoint their watchers duly for the overseas voting month.
So, maybe just request po na very specific lang na calendar on OAV na nakalagay din yon yung 2 days na yon na to be released sana immediately.
It's in the general instruction, ma'am, in the VATS feeding.
But you know, hindi naman po lahat nagbabasa ng general.
Kasi the general instructions are addressed to those who will serve, di ba?
Sige po, at saka, sir, sorry po. Unlike dito, lahat nakatutok tayo sa COMELEC, sa elections. Doon po talagang sila divided attention doon. And konti lang yung source nila is really internet and social media. So please do not rely lang on the bulletins po kasi wala talaga nagbabasa.
We'll take into consideration that, ma'am. In fact, ma'am, we also invited majority of the PhilComs to participate in the elections, ma'am.
Okay, so any other questions on the overseas voting? Goyo, meron ka, Attorney Larrazabal?
Chairman, I think what people should not forget is the best evidence in terms of protest cases is still the digital image of the ballot. The ballot itself, the receipts can be used as reference points. In fact, all the election paraphernalia can be used, but they should not forget that in terms of not being manipulated, the digital images are still the best evidence, and the resolution of protest cases will bear this out.
Yes, I believe so. That will not destroy the doctrine
because
as to best evidence. But I think the point of Attorney Reyes is just to give evidentiary value to the paper receipts.
That can actually be used, Chairman, that can actually help in terms of even the random manual audit and in the protest cases.
Actually, naisip ko nga, it should be used to initiate a protest. Pero but I heard from the procedure, it will be placed inside the ballot box. So hindi rin. Anyway, during a protest na, di ba?
Possibly, Your Honor, na baka it can be a basis for pre-proclamation.
It's inside the ballot box. How can access it?
If it's in the minutes, actually we're still looking at it.
So minutes ang ginamit, hindi pa rin yung paper receipt.
You can now ask to exclude the election returns that are questionable.
Anyway, no debate doon on the best evidence rule. Attorney Reyes, no debate, no? June Aguilar, on the overseas, before we leave the topic.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to clarify whether yung postal voting applies now to Saudi Arabia. At kung hindi pa po, yun din po yung question namin na matagal na namin kinukwestiyon na bakit ang Saudi Arabia of all countries, which is a highly dense OFW populated, yun yung hindi ina-allow sa absentee voting. During the time of the OAV, we have already raised this issue because ang contentious issue dito, ang sabi noon during the deliberation na ang Saudi raw hindi ganon kaganda ang postal service o hindi ganon ka-reliable. And then another thing, na reason that we have heard before is that sa Saudi raw, it can be influenced yung mga OFW ng kanilang employers because of the PO box system. Now, this is the reason why kanina yung sabi ni Commissioner Lim na napakaliit ng turnout. Because nagtira po ako dyan ng 13 years. I was there in Riyadh for 13 years and it is really very, very difficult to register and vote. And this also true with a lot of OFWs in Saudi Arabia, and we have almost 1 million in Saudi Arabia alone. Now, ang punto ko po dito, Mr. Chairman, kung hindi pa po ito nakikita, yung napaka-importanting bagay na ito, because of all countries, ang pinakamalaki pong OFW population is in Saudi Arabia. And of all countries also, only a few were not allowed to use postal voting, and one is Saudi Arabia.
Ano sa Saudi personal? Machine. So, may we know the reason?
Actually, Your Honor, we conducted a consultation with Post, and the Post recommended that it should adopt a personal voting, Your Honor.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
siguro maybe to persuade COMELEC to adopt postal can be done some other time kasi ngayon, ano na yan, final decision na yan, So, I don't think they have time to change the system na Yes, Mr. Aguilar.
Well, Mr. Chairman, siguro po baka late na nga ngayon ito dahil nga it's fast approaching. But I would like to take this opportunity to have this this issue at least matingnan po ito para dun sa mga subsequent election. Kasi po talagang kung manggagaling ka ng Riyadh at pupunta ka ng diplomatic quarter, wala pong wala pong public conveyance diyan, walang public transport diyan. You really have to spend, you really have to take time for you to register and for you to vote. So, yun po ang nagiging problema dyan sa Saudi Arabia. I've been there, as I told you, we've been there. At yung pong mga nasa post na nagsasabi na nagre-rekomenda na huwag payagan ng postal voting, ito po yung mga opisyales na hindi naman nila nararanasan kung ano yung nararanasan namin. So, this is the point that we would like to be to be taken into consideration baka po sa mga susunod para maging maayos po yung turnout, because this is obviously the reason why we have a very low turnout.
Mr. Aguilar, ganito, after the elections actually, or in the next Congress, if I will still chair the electoral reform, we will go into the cost effectiveness of overseas voting. Kasi doon na lang sa revelation ngayon na naging counting machine yung BCM for DPEI, may backup pa. So for example, in Japan, so you change the rule now. They're back to postal. Then every Monday and Thursday, the SBI will use the machines to count. And if the machine malfunctions, they have a backup machine to do it. So ang point, if the machine malfunctions, then you manually count. Kasi, tandaan mo, di ba, then you manually, but we will go through all of this after the elections na lang. But for the record, Saudi Arabia is personal with the use of BCM.
All posts in the Middle East, Your Honor, personal voting.
And the most logical reason siguro is the unreliability of the postal system.
Part of the reasons, Your Honor. However, Your Honor, just to counter that, in order to increase the voter turnout, we encourage the conduct of field and mobile votings by the post, wherein the post has designated certain areas wherein they can conduct voting, sir, outside of their areas, outside of the posts. In fact, in Jeddah,
we don't need to change the law, no, for that to happen.
Yes, Your Honor.
We need to.
No.
No need, no. So it's a matter of you and the COMELEC and DFA agreeing, no, to do it.
Actually, Your Honor, we already approved the conduct of field voting in several areas all over the world, Your Honor.
Because it was the field registration which increased the number of registered voters, di ba?
Yes.
Okay. Sige, who wants to say something? Sige, Miss, ladies first rin siya.
Yun na lang yung sa field voting, mobile voting centers, kung I don't know if it's feasible, pero alam niyo naman sa Saudi ngayon, medyo mahirap with the dislocation of our workers. Baka pwede lang mas marami na mobile voting.
Wala pa yung tools, sa future pa yan.
Sa future.
Sa future pa yan.
Kasi may schools that they can...
Ngayon, gagawin nyo ngayon?
Meron na, sir.
Meron na ngayon.
May Filipino community schools that they will use.
Under po, sir, sa mandatory law, you allow the conduct of field registration such that if there is a field registration, we encourage the conduct also of a field voting there.
Hindi kaya na, you encourage, but are you going to do it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, in how many posts or countries are we having this mobile or field voting?
If a memory serves me right, Your Honor, it will be around 30 posts that will adopt field voting and mobile voting.
So can you give this committee the list of these posts?
Yes, sir.
So just get
included in the calendar.
Yes po.
And then last na lang po, tapos na yung dalawang Pilipinas presidential debates. Walang about OFWs, kahit na April 9 na yung start ng election. Meron bang way para, even using radio lang, kasi lahat naman sila may online devices using their phones, no? Maski saan yung OFWs. Baka pwede pa prior to the start of the overseas voting.
Kakausapin natin po si Chairman Dian, siyang namamahala dito sa mga debates. But just to
voice out a particular, address that particular concern. Nagpalabas na po tayo ng candidates profile up to senator, party list, up to senators, from president down to senators. Naka-upload na po yan sa website ng mga post natin kung ano ang mga plataforma ng bawat kandidato vis-a-vis OFWs and OFW issues. So, but the request is to include in the debate issues about our overseas Filipino workers.
Maski 1 hour debate lang, kasi iba po yung naka-upload profile. Unang-una, I would strongly recommend that you really look at all the embassy websites and DFA web, yung embassy websites, consulates, Facebook pages. Ang hirap hanapin po talaga, sir. Sana merong icon na lang na familiar across the board, lahat na lang ng
We have sent the hard copies to the post. I cannot say with certainty whether this has been uploaded.
No, but sir,
they are in the process of doing that.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, it's part kasi of the information dissemination campaign. And we'd like to push COMELEC and the DFA to come up with a more organized effort para naman po maengganyo sila talaga to get out and vote.
We share your concern and we share your desire for a big turnout. Gagawin po natin yan lahat. At sana masama sa issues sa pinakahuling presidential debate, this matter about our OFWs. Personally, I consider that to be very important. I will take that up with our chairman.
According to Chairman Bautista earlier, all safeguards will be in place. In fact, even more. Do you know what he has left us, but do you know what he meant? What is this even more? Commissioner Christian Robert
He didn't mention the even more, just all safeguards.
No, he said even more. Nasa notes ko. Okay, kaya nga, do you know why I'm going back to the law? Because the law says that there should be a certification from the Technical Evaluation Committee. And I think here, Engineer Banson is here. Have we complied with this Section 11 of the law?
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually have a presentation with updates on the TEC certification.
Okay, pero may presentation. Pero the short answer is wala pa, no?
Short answer, sir, wala pa. Part of the requirement of the law is the continuity plan. And as we discussed earlier...
that will be explained, no? So, okay. Attorney Chong, you wanted to say something before we allow the presentation of Engineer Banson? Yes, Attorney Chong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very quickly. Sabi ho ni Chairman Bautista kanina that the resibo will not have the date. Along with other features. Kaya nga, sabi nila, they call it simple receipt. However, we take note of a receipt that was printed when there was a source code review at De La Salle University. We have here a copy of the program and also the voter receipt. There was no date at all. However, on February 2, and this is the picture, if you closely look at this, meron hong date. That's on February 2. And on February 16, nag-joint hearing ho tayo rito, then dyan ho yung makina. If you look at the resibo, there is also a date. So the question, our question is, at the time of source code review, there was no date. In subsequent presentations, there was date. Could it be that the parameters can actually be switched on and off easily?
The date. But if you look at your picture, what was the date printed?
May 9.
Yeah, but that was printed on February 2. So, mali. Ano isa?
Yes, sir. But the point
it's a standard instruction to print May 9. It's not actually the date when
yes,
the
sir,
machine printed the receipt.
The point, Your Honor, is that date can actually put
the printing of that
the inclusion of that parameter.
Are you familiar, Commissioner Lim, with this?
What I know, Your Honor, is that what is being used for the demo is not yet the trusted bill.
So the official program will not put any date.
If I may ask the
who can answer from Smartmatic Asia, please? Mr. Garcia.
Sir, actually on the receipt that is being printed, there are two dates. One, which is the election date, it will state May 9, and then on the upper left corner, there will be the date when the receipt was printed, but no timestamp, only the date.
So that date would also most likely be May 9, 2016, right? Because that's the day, that's the day of the election. Yeah,
Sir, Mr. Garcia, you can enable that date. You can enable that date under present conditions.
There is nothing to be enabled or disabled on the receipt. The receipt is as is. We cannot change anything.
There's going to be a date.
There's going to be a date, upper left though.
Why did the chairman say there's no date? There's no date. Which is which?
I don't know, probably he hasn't seen it.
Mr. Garcia, basta on election day, you're telling us that the simple receipt will have a date.
There is a date on the upper left corner.
Upper left corner, which is the date. Okay.
Well,
We'll find out. We'll find out on election day. Okay, so we'll now go to the president.
There's no date. There's date pala. I rest my case, Your Honor.
Let's hear the presentation of Engineer Banson of the Technical Evaluation Committee.
Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I'll be providing some updates on what the Technical Evaluation Committee has been doing with regards to the certification of the AES. Next slide, please. Okay, so just a review of the mandate of the DEC. This is a committee that was created by RA 9369. There are 3 members, BOST, represented by myself, the Commission on ICT, now renamed the ICT Office, represented by Director Raul Nilo, and the COMELEC, represented by Ms. Eden Bolo. And the mandate in the law is to certify through an international certification entity that the AES is operating properly, securely, and accurately. For the 2016 election, the ICE, or certification entity, was chosen by COMELEC from a short list provided by the Advisory Council, and the chosen ICE was SISTES SLI. The same ICE that we had for the last 2 elections. Next slide, please. So according to the law, the certification has to be based on the following requirements. Number 1 is the successful conduct of a field test followed by a mock election. The second requirement is a successful completion of audit on the accuracy, functionality, and security of the AES. The third requirement is the successful completion of a source code review. The fourth requirement is a certification that the source code is deposited with the central bank. And the next one is a certification that the source code used by the equipment is the same as the one that was reviewed and deposited in the central bank. And the last requirement is the operationalization of a continuity plan. Next slide, please. Okay, so what are the status of these requirements? With regards to the field tests, we've had 2 field tests conducted respectively on January 29 and February 5. These were conducted in approximately 30 locations nationwide. In the first field test, there was no transmission. But in the second field test, the transmission was enabled, and according to COMELEC, it was successful. The mock election event was held last February 13 as well, using the trusted build version of the AES. And then with regards to the next 2 requirements, the ICE, SISTES Labs, SLI, submitted their final certification test report last February 28 to the DEC. Okay, and then the third requirement, the source code of the AES was deposited after the third trusted build with the central bank last February 12. Okay, and this is supported by a certification from the central bank. And then the continuity plan, the last requirement, is was adopted by COMELEC at a March 8 meeting, but the official copy was only received by the DEC 2 days ago. And then the last requirement that the source code reviewed is the one used by the equipment is still pending, depending on the completion of the pre-logic accuracy test, which is scheduled to end by April 30. So this is the only time that we will know that all the equipment uses the trusted build. Sorry. Next slide, please. Okay, so for the source code review, this is the summary of the report from SLI. In total, they reviewed more than 1 million lines of source code individually, using both automated and manual tools. And in summary, they say that the review of the EMS, the VCM, and CCS source code revealed no evidence of any intentionally written instructions to yield any but the correct results. And also, they said that the final results of the review determined that the code meets all the prescribed standards. There are no critical or major discrepancies remaining within the source code. So 0 critical and 0 major discrepancies. Next slide, please. And with regards to the audit on the accuracy, security, these are part of the certification test report submitted by SLI. And this is the summary of the report, the conclusion. They say that the system conforms to requirements and is operationally suitable for use. The 2016 AES is functionally capable of operating properly, securely, and accurately. SLI recommends the system for certification as it is conformant with the requirements and is suitable for use in the elections. With regards to the accuracy testing, this was conducted here in the Philippines at the warehouse, and they fed 3,000 ballots, and the accuracy that was measured was 100%. Next slide, please. Okay, so as to the status of the actual certification, we have basically prepared the document, but we are still awaiting for some clarifications from SLI regarding the report that they submitted, and also because we received the continuity plan only 2 days ago, and also as we've seen from the discussion this morning, we need to review that plan, particularly with respect to what to do when the thermal paper runs out. And then, of course, we have to review the verification procedure for the trusted build during the pre-lat phase. And if we have no other major problems, we foresee that we can submit this by the end of this month. Thank you, Ron.
I thought you were waiting for an April 30 result before you can issue your certification. That was what alarmed me, because if you will wait for that activity which ends on April 30, you'll come out with your certification after the elections. Tama ba yun?
Yes, sir. No, the certification document mentions that if the procedure is strictly followed, then the certification remains valid. So this is also the case during the previous 2 elections. We've never issued a certification until the end of pre-lat.
But is that the correct reading of Section 11? I have my doubts, no, but I'll just, we'll await your certification. We will look at the date when you issue this. We will measure your compliance with our own understanding of Section 11. Hindi yata pwedeng parang conditional certification, kasi sabi rito, you are, look at the important words, no? You are, the committee shall certify, then not later than 3 months, categorically stating, yun ang mga words, no? Hardware and software components operating properly, securely, accurately. So, it means to say that actually 3 months before election, everything must be, all systems go. That's my reading, but I will ask the lawyers to siguro for their opinion in writing na lang. That's not, and we will make this part of the report of this Oversight Committee on the compliance to legal requirements. Okay, so end of the month. You'll issue a certification. But conditional.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Conditional, lalabas conditional. Kasi kung conditional, ang daling maghugas ng kamay. Because sasabihin nyo, oh, well, one procedure or one requirement was not met. Therefore, that voids our certification. So what is the point? Ako mo ba, engineer?
I understand, Your Honor.
What was the point of the certification?
But we are again affected by all of these delays in the election process.
No, but you're already in delay even before the Supreme Court decision. Aminin po natin yun. Even before the Supreme Court decision, delayed na po tayo. Somebody was raising his hand over here. Yes, Mr. Garcia.
Sir, I have to apologize. I just confirmed with our developers. And the date is not printed in the VVPAT. It's printed in the status report, in the ERs, the initialization reports, but not in the ERs. My apologies for that.
Okay, wala na si Attorney Chong. We should relate that to Attorney Chong. He's correct. No date. Not even the mention of May 9, 2016, no?
It's a title, the title of the election.
It's not a date, it's actually a standard message. But there will be a May 9 there, no? May 9, 2016 elections, no?
As a part of the election.
But that's not the date, okay? So, let's relay this information to Attorney Chong. Okay, since COMELEC has committed that all safeguards will be in place, even more, this will be the most transparent election of all, and the head of the Project Management Office is Commissioner Christian Robert Lim, who is present here. You are the overall. Is that the meaning of the head of the Project Management Office? Overall?
Except for the printing committee, the deployment, other committees, that's not under my jurisdiction.
AES is yours?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, sige. So, can we now go over the minimum system capabilities which you have ensured to be followed? There are console ports in the BCM.
Your Honor, may I ask Director Jun Tolentino to assist me on this?
Director Tolentino, please help us. If there are console ports, the requirement of the law is, ano ba yung nakalagay sa law? Adequate security against unauthorized access. So can we guarantee that?
I actually have a presentation, Your Honor. If I may be allowed to present.
What is the presentation about? Not only about console
all
ports.
the issues raised in the revised agenda.
Okay, good. Sige. Says Executive Director Tolentino, please.
We can proceed with the next slide. One more. Okay, there is no console port in our BCM. The console ports were present in 2010 and 2013 in the PICOS, but those console ports were deactivated. For the 2016 VCM, we have one Ethernet port, and that is for the BGAN. And we have two USB ports intended for the modem, which is in the form of a USB stick, just like the tattoo that we use. And in those USB ports, only the modem will work. Any other gadget will not work in that USB port. So that's our security, sir. Next slide. On the issue of the digital signatures, in 2010 and 2013, the digital signature generated by the PICOS was used. But for 2016, we have the digital signature of the BCM and two other members of the BEI. That's why in our general instructions for the boards of election inspectors, that is resolution number 10057, the provisions on the final testing and sealing, which are applicable to election day, provide that the PI shall press OK to add a digital signature to the election results. And you will note that there is this 0/3, meaning the BCM can have at least, or rather, can have a maximum of 3 digital signatures. Next slide. And then the next one would be, again, press OK to add digital signature. So it's now 1/3, meaning there's already 1 digital signature in the results. Then the next step would be, again, to press OK. Then we have 2/3. Next slide, please. Then for the voter receipt, which we have already discussed lengthily, then it is a simple voter receipt. And in our supplemental general instructions, we will be providing provisions on the proper way to remove the receipt from the thermal paper. And indelible ink will be placed on the fingernail before the receipt will be issued to the voter, and then the receipt will be dropped by the voter inside the voter receipt receptacle before he leaves the polling place. And as stated by Commissioner Lim earlier, the corrugated plastic black box used in the shipment of the ballots will be utilized as our voter receipt receptacle. Next slide. For the screen verification, that is still activated in our BCM, but then we are studying further whether we can still reduce the number of time, the period of time that this screen will be made available to the voter. Because as stated by the Supreme Court, the receipt is the primary document and screen verification is just a redundancy. Next slide. Ultraviolet light sensor. That was not available in 2010 because of the problems on the printing of the UV mark. It was available in 2013 as it is also available now. In fact, I believe that was demonstrated in the last JCOC meeting. Next slide. On the other capabilities, our BCM now can simultaneously save data from the main storage to the backup storage device. Simultaneous saving was not available in 2010 and 2013. We are now using 256-bit encryption, and I was told that the 128-bit encryption used in 2010 and 2013 is 2 to the 128th power, meaning there are 340 undecillion combinations. I think it's a 39-digit combination to crack one precinct result. So the next precinct will again require that number of combinations to crack the next precinct. And then our VCM is smaller in size and lighter in weight than the 2010 and 2013 PICOs. And our VCM has a larger colored screen compared to the smaller grayscale screen of the PICOs. And our VCM now is more user-friendly. Next slide. Sir, may I be allowed to continue with the compliance with other mandatory provisions? Next slide. We were required to state what are the evaluation system applied by COMELEC to ascertain that the minimum system capabilities are met. So, during the public bidding, our technical working group would evaluate compliance by the bidder of the technical specifications. After determining which bidder has submitted the lowest calculated responsive bid, we conducted laboratory tests to determine whether there are revisions still needed. Then, SLI Global Solutions, the international certification entity engaged by COMELEC, reviewed the code. And that code was also reviewed by the political parties, if I'm not mistaken, starting October last year. Then there is the certification testing by the SLI Global Solutions, and as discussed by Engineer Banson earlier, the SLI Global Solutions recommends that the system be certified and that it can be used for the 2016 elections. Then we conducted field tests in 20 areas to ascertain compliance by the VCM of the customized system, followed by mock elections in 40 areas to determine readiness of the automated election system. We have a pre-election logic and accuracy test to ensure that the customized system, as certified by the SLI, is installed in the VCMs prior to the deployment of those machines to the field. Then on election day, we have the final testing and sealing, or rather, prior to election day, we have the final testing and sealing to ensure that the VCM is working properly, accurately, and securely, as required under RA 9369. Next slide. On the continuity plan, it's still being revised and will be finalized to incorporate the recent SC Supreme Court decision on the use of the voter receipt. And political parties will be furnished with copies, and we will publish that not later than 15 days before elections. That is in accordance with RA 9369. Next slide. On the correct reporting of votes, our general instructions provide for the conduct of final testing and sealing, and there, what will be done would be to print the initialization report, or a zero report, which shows that the candidates have 0 votes, meaning no vote has been cast in their favor yet. Then there is also the procedure on how to close the polls, how to print the election returns, how to digitally sign the election returns, and how to transmit the results. Then there is also a manual verification of results with respect to the final testing and sealing procedures. Next slide. In the same general instructions, Part 3, the same procedure conducted for the final testing and sealing will be adopted for the voting, counting, and transmission of precinct results. That would be the initialization report, closing of polls, printing of the ERs, digital signing, and transmission of results. We have also included in our general instructions the manner of voting and scanning of the ballots for detainee voters from special polling places. Next slide. On the integrity of the transmitted certificates of canvass and storage devices, our resolution number 10083, which is the general instructions for the boards of canvassers, provide that similar to the voting procedure, there is an initialization procedure to show that all the candidates have 0 votes. After the printing of that initialization report, the same shall be shown to the watchers to confirm that all candidates have 0 votes. Then we also use the public and private keys, or the digital signatures, to ensure that what is being received by the boards of canvassers come from valid or legitimate sources. And similar to the VCM, we also use 256-bit encryption to ensure that the results cannot be tampered with. Next slide. Again, on the integrity of the transmitted certificates of canvass, the BOC, as a general rule, canvasses only transmitted results. Now, if results are not transmitted, the BEIs are instructed to place the SD cards in envelopes and mark them not transmitted. For purposes of the municipal boards and provincial boards, if their COCs are not transmitted, then they will now place the CDs and mark the envelope containing the CDs not transmitted. And those SD cards and CDs will then be imported into the CCS laptop of the Board of Canvassers concerned. Now, during the transport of those envelopes to the next level of canvassing, said envelopes will be signed by the BEI or the BOC, as the case may be, and by the watchers present. And those envelopes will be delivered to the BOCs concerned, escorted by watchers. Again, private and public keys, digital signatures, and 256-bit encryption will be used. Next slide. Then there are hard copies of the election returns and certificates of canvass, which will be printed in 30 copies. So the watchers now can use those hard copies to compare the results with those being canvassed. Then our CCS, the Consolidation and Canvassing System, prints several reports. We have the canvass report, certificate of canvass, statement of votes, certificate of canvass and proclamation, and the audit log. There's also statistical reports. Then the results are then backed up before shutting down the CCS. That ends our presentation on the minimum systems capabilities, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Tolentino. Any question? Attorney Chong?
Your Honor, first is with respect to the reports. Will the COMELEC allow copies to be given at the precinct level, the audit log reports, the statistical log, or the S-log, and of course, they're entitled already to the election returns. The important one is the audit log and the statistical log, or the S-log, and then there's also in the MBOC, the print log, so that we can compare them for bogus transmissions like what we did in Biliran in 2010. But I'm aware that in 2013, mukhang mahirap, hindi binigay. So we could not, because our request in Biliran in 2013 is languishing until this day.
Per VCM will print, in addition to the 30 ERs, an audit log.
One copy each.
One copy of the audit log.
One statistical log.
One statistical log.
And I think the S-log also. I don't know if the
who will confirm the reports in addition to the 30 ERs? Siguro si Commissioner Christian Robert Lim.
Yes,
in addition to the 30 ERs, what will be printed?
They will print first, they will also print the audit logs, the statistical reports. Tama. Yun na. Yun.
Dalawa lang po?
Dalawa lang po.
Okay, and one copy each lang po yun?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is the purpose of printing this? Saan ilalagay?
That would be placed in an envelope, and if I'm not mistaken, it's forwarded to our Election Records and Statistics Office.
So not placed in the ballot box? Hindi siya? So separate siya? Right?
Yes, sir. Yes. Because the statistics, obviously, would be needed by the Election Records and Statistics Department. And the audit log, just in case there are requests, they can easily be reproduced by our Election Records and Statistics Department. Ang issue lang natin dito, Your Honor, is that the audit log prints all the activities made in that VCM from the start from the time it was manufactured. So ang haba niyan, sir. It's really, really very long. Now, I don't know how we would be able to provide the parties with a copy there at the precinct.
No, but you just made the manifestation that upon request, these
Yes.
audit log printouts are accessible. Upon request, at the
Yes,
expense
Your
of the
Honor.
requesting party.
Yes, Your Honor.
I think that's clear. Attorney Chong, yeah.
Kasi sir, in Biliran, we made a request for copies of the audit log and the print logs. The print log is in the MBOC. Ito yung laptop sa MBOC, may print log ho yan doon. Audit log po pa doon sa presinto.
Do we confirm that at the municipal canvassing level? What are the reports printed? Sige, para we get our terms
also
correctly.
similar to an audit log, it will also print a log of all actions taken by the...
What do you call that? Kasi Attorney Chong uses the term print log. Nakakalituan tayo. Is it also an audit log?
Audit log.
Audit log. Oh.
Your Honor, it's actually printed at the top of the page. Print log. And yung isa naman, audit log. Actually, there's a difference. When you read the audit log, you read it going downwards. If you read the print log, you read it going upwards. So kaya magulo. But if you have them together, you will be able to match the transmissions from the PICOS to the, from the VCM to the...
So, can we go to at the municipal canvassing level, what reports are printed by the system?
Aside from the certificate of canvass, the certificate of proclamation, the statement of votes per precinct, canvass report, okay, call it print or audit log.
Okay.
Initialization report. And the statistical report, Your Honor.
May stat report din, ano? Okay. Okay, one copy each din yun. Yun yung mga log, no?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then, what's the purpose? ERSD din?
Yeah, ERSD, Your Honor.
So, and then, available upon request?
Yes, they can request it from ERSD.
What's your complaint, Attorney Chong? Your request was never...
The local election officer says we need unbank approval, and there was no unbank approval for the next 3 years.
But ERSD is Comelec main
Yes,
office?
Your Honor, that's a public document. Any member of the public can request at the ERSD.
At least, Your Honor, it's already on record, and the people listening to us will already be guided accordingly. Now, with respect po, sir, to the digital signature, we have here a picture of the presentation of Chairman Bautista at pamantasan ng lungsod ng Maynila on January 7, 2016 po. Nakalagay po doon, 2010, 2013, digital signature disabled sa 2010, disabled sa 2013. Now, they claim that meron ho yun. So, may we ask for clarification, bakit si Chairman Bautista nakalagay ho sa presentation na disabled yung digital signature in 2010? Can you get the picture? And disabled din ho sa 2013. Whereas, dito po, there are asserting na meron.
Can we just ask, in 2016, will we enable or disable? Enable. Pero iba kasi talaga definition nila eh. May clash kayo sa definitions kasi.
Maybe...
PIN code, no? Digital signature para for the Comelec is the machine generated signature.
Yes, sir.
Plus the PIN codes of the 3 BI.
Of at least 2 members.
Of at least 2 na lang ba?
Yes, sir.
Only 2 will enter the PIN.
Actually, the 3 will be given their own signatures. But then, the machine, after receiving 2,
will say okay na?
Yes, sir. It's because the PEI decides by majority vote. So 2 would be enough.
So this is where the clash is, right? The definition ng digital...
the provision of the law in Republic Act 9369, Section 30, it says here, for the determination of the authenticity and due execution of the certificates referring to the digital signature, it must go through the appropriate authentication and certification procedures for electronic signatures as provided in Republic Act 8792. That is the e-commerce law. Now the question is, does this digital signature, they are telling us, is compliant with Republic Act 8792? I may turn over the microphone to Dr. Nelson Celis, Your Honor.
We tried, let's ask the Comelec to answer. I think this issue has been sufficiently discussed before. So, Director Tolentino,
Sir, we tried asking the DOST, I think it was ASTI, if they could generate the digital certificates for us. And I think we have a bit of a problem there because there are requirements for the issuance of a digital
certificate which we cannot comply with because, for example, alam mo ba? Sir, ano siya eh, parang there is a data that has to be divulged. And the DOST said, no, we cannot issue that. It should be secret. Or nobody should know about it, otherwise it could be copied or something.
So, did the stakeholders hear the explanation? And if you want to question it, then maybe you know what to do.
Mr. Chairman.
Kasi we cannot engage in endless debate. The COMELEC has made a decision based on their understanding. If we disagree, pero for the record na lang, Dr. Celis, what is the interpretation of at least your group or yourself?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Remember, in the past hearings we had Yusek Casambre, we had Director Dennis Brilorente, and they said that they can simplify the digital signing using their digital signing facility. What was mentioned by Director Tolentino, he mentioned about yung intricacies in providing the information for the Board of Canvassers and the Board of Election Inspectors with regard to the digital signatures. But I do remember Director Dennis Brilorente said that it can be simplified. It can be simplified. So as mentioned by Director Tolentino, they were not able to comply with the authentication of the digital signature as he just mentioned.
Just to clarify, sir, it is the DOST that does not want to divulge the private key. It's them that cannot comply.
But anyway,
ganito nga. Just ask the DOST to find out.
Basta COMELEC, you have explained to us what you will do. Okay? Your actions will be measured against Section 30 by stakeholders. Should they not believe that Section 30 has been complied with, they know what to do. Okay? So,
Mr. Chair,
you look for a referee to judge on the
You
issue.
already have a winning petition for mandamus by Attorney Reyes. They can just use that, no, to change it to digital signature, and I'm sure the Supreme Court will rule for them.
Mr. Chairman,
sige, Attorney Reyes.
Yeah, actually there have been suggestions to go to the Supreme Court once again to raise this issue, precisely because there is a great disparity of opinion between the COMELEC and, as you said, Mr. Chairman, stakeholders. The machine signature, I think the Supreme Court was purposely misled in the Kapalya case that the machine signature is sufficient to comply with the requirements of the law, which is what Nelson Celis actually wanted to explain. They are not complying with the e-commerce law, and the law specifically states that they must comply with the e-commerce law. So, as Commissioner Lim suggested, actually there is a petition already being prepared against the COMELEC in the Supreme Court again on the digital signatures, because it's very important that this be done. These are all safeguards that the law, that Congress, both the House of Representatives and the Senate, thought wise to enact in order to really protect not just e-commerce itself, but the election, the transparency, honesty, and cleanliness of the election. So,
being prepared or already filed?
It's actually being prepared, Your Honor.
Prepared pa?
Yes.
So,
we will surely file it, Your Honor.
And if you win the case, can they still comply? Kaya pa ba?
Yes,
There's a
Mr.
way.
Chairman.
Okay, sige.
Even the Director Dennis Brilorente said that the preparation of the digital certificates for the BOCs and the BAIs can be simplified. There are measures or methodology that can be implemented.
We would like to thank you for your vigilance. I mean, in enforcing the law.
One final point,
But let's wait for the result of the case if you actually file it, if and when you actually file it.
Actually,
Sir.
Your Honor, it won't be this representation. No? It will be another representation, but we're working in conjunction with them to file the case. And just for the record, Your Honor, we were not lax in our vigilance about the VVPAT. We filed it actually 5 days after we discovered in the newspaper that the JCOC...
Ang galing nyo nga, nag-file nga kayo. So that's what I say about what I call vigilance. You actually act and file.
Thank you.
So, but give them sufficient time to comply if you win the case. So please ask this interested party to act as soon as possible and file the case.
Mr. Chair, one final point on the results, that they should be made available in the public website, drilled down to the precinct, and I think former Commissioner Gus Lagman could elucidate on this matter more clearly, Your Honor.
Commissioner Lagman, can I pursue some other matters muna, then we go to your presentation?
Okay.
Well, can I go to transmission first? Congressman Tino.
On the digital signatures, so again, could you just explain right now, there will be signatures generated by, you said provided by the at least 2 members of the BEI?
Yes, Your Honor.
So they will enter PIN numbers, and these PIN numbers are their PIN numbers generated by the BEI themselves, or is it provided to them?
It would be similar to what we receive when we open an ATM account. Because we all know that there is a possibility that a BEI who's given his own personal PIN would not report on election day. And there's a chance that the machine won't work because the machine will be looking for that digital signature.
So in short, generated by, not by the BEI, tama?
Yeah, it's not the personal digital signature which...
So who generated? Yun lang yung tanong ni Congressman Tino.
Sino gumawa ng PIN?
Sino gumawa ng PIN?
I think it is the EMS which generates
So, COMELEC.
the election management system.
COMELEC generation.
Okay, so COMELEC has, or the system has a whole list of pins for all the machines, which it then provides to at least 2 BEIs.
Yes, sir. That would be placed together with in a kit. The VCM will have the FTS ballots, the thermal paper, the I-buttons, the SD cards, those...
But does this not mean then that anyone who has access to the pins, apart from the BEI, will also be able to access the machine, the HUBA?
Yes, sir. It's not only that signature which will make the machine work. There are a lot of factors. One of which, of course, would be that the machine should be there in the polling place, in front of the voters and the watchers.
Yes, but in my understanding, the reason why the law requires digital signatures is to prevent, correct me if I'm wrong, something like what they call a man-in-the-middle attack, where, how are we sure that, what the machine sends is what the server receives, it's supposedly through this system of digital signatures. That's how they... One way to attack that is through what they call a man-in-the-middle attack, where a third party pretends that it is the other party, so dumadaan sa kanya yung communication. And isn't it possible to do that if someone has access to the pin? So,
Your Honor, the machine is a standalone, meaning it can only get connected to the when the modem is attached to it, and the only time the modem is connected to it is when it is ready to transmit. But all other protocols, Your Honor, is that it does not have any connection. So even if, let's say, a third party has the PIN, he has to appear personally before the machine to input that PIN, and second also, he also has to have that I button that will match with the PIN.
Yes, but precisely the system could be vulnerable during transmission. Now, where, for instance, a machine could be transmitting not directly to the server, but to this third party, pretending to be the server, then it can then transmit its own data.
Your Honor,
To the
when we
central server.
configure the
That's,
SD cards,
my understanding of a
it's
man in the
always
middle
hand in
attack.
hand with the canvassing and the VCM, no? Meaning, yung SD cards, that particular VCM is always matched to the canvassing. So, ibig sabihin, Your Honor, is that that machine cannot transmit to another canvassing site, nor can the canvassing site transmit to also the canvassing. No, it's a matching. So, pag the moment hindi mag-match, hindi tatanggapin ng canvassing yan. No?
Opo, pero precisely yung man in the middle attack, you know, the third party is spoofing, is pretending that it's an original sender or receiver. No, kaya nga may digital signature supposedly para to prevent
Your
that.
Honor,
But if the
we
PIN is
provide-
not secure, no, then it's that much easier to make a third party attack.
If we provide the digital signature, what the warlords can do is they can get the digital signature of the teacher, and they can also use that same concept of man-in-the-middle. So
Ganun nga din, the person who has, because all of these PIN codes are maybe contained in a file, a master file, so that person who has access to that master file is the warlord, right? Suddenly becomes a warlord. Mr. Garcia.
Sir, if I may, I would like to explain how the process is from the configuration up to the canvassing, so you can see that these man-in-the-middle attacks are very unlikely to happen. No? It all starts in the EMS, as we know, the election management system, wherein we load all information regarding candidates, what we call the project of precincts, or all the precincts, the addresses, total registered voters, etc., plus the certificates that are generated for the different I buttons. You know, for each machine, there are issued 3 I buttons: one for the chairman, one for the poll clerk, and one for the BEI member. For the operation of the machines, you need either just the chairman or the other 2 members in order to operate the machine. For each of the BEIs all over the Philippines, which are going to be approximately 270,000, let's round it down, you will have that many different, number 1, pins to operate the machine, number 2, pins to do the digital signing of the results, and 3, the pins to do the receipt of the machines. So per person, you have 3 different pins. Now, what is the purpose?
What's the third one?
The rezero.
Rezero the machine.
Yes. So there is a third pin. So each of the users will be given a security slip, like the pay slips, you know, the ones that you get, and they are folded. So when they receive their envelopes, they will have that to open that one to see their 3 pins. Okay. Yeah. For each of the pins, you will have the I buttons, which are married to the identity of that particular person. Okay. So we have 1 digital certificate per I button, 1 I button per BEI member, and 3 pins per BEI member. For you to access the machine or to try to tamper with the results, you need to have access to at least the pin for the operation of the machine, the pin to forge the digital signatures, plus the I button, plus the 2 SD cards to operate the machine, since the machine doesn't operate if it doesn't have the 2 machines, the 2 SD cards, sorry. Okay, that is just at the cluster precinct level. Now, when it comes to transmission, as Commissioner Lim stated, it is very unlikely that somebody could be hijacking the results, because the machine is only connected when it's going to transmit. Transmission doesn't take more than 1 or 2 minutes. Second, the transmissions are being done over what is known as secure channels. No? First, we have a secure connection from the machine to the server. It is encrypted, so all the information cannot be understood. Even if somebody could have access to that channel, they couldn't understand what is being transmitted. The information transmitted itself is encrypted and digitally signed, so you could see that it's like an envelope on top of another envelope, and that one is transmitted over a private network that only the SIM cards or the different terminals that are allowed to access the network will be connecting to that one. So for somebody to be doing what you mentioned, sir, the man-in-the-middle attack, you must have access to the telcos. And on election day, the telcos have this exclusive network only for Comelec use. So that is why it's very unlikely to happen that in that very short period of time, and given all the security layers that we have implemented, that somebody can hack the results.
Could you clarify that on election day for transmission, the telcos will have an exclusive, what did you say, network?
Network, yeah.
Network, an
Each of the-
exclusive network for Comelec.
Correct, sir.
Could you explain that further? What do you mean by that? My understanding is that the existing, mobile networks are going to be used. How in what
Yes, sir.
way are these going to be exclusively for Comelec? Paano yun?
Okay. The transmission that is going to be done on election day will be using the public infrastructure available for the telcos. Will be using the same towers, the same satellites, everything that they use for their common service. But logically, they can segregate the traffic and they can say, okay, the traffic coming through this door is only Comelec's traffic. So only people that is allowed to access the Comelec door will come to the Comelec door. That is known as the access point name, or APNs. Okay, so there is a special APN that is created on election day, and only SIM cards that are certified, accepted, and validated will be allowed to be accessing this access point name. So if you try it with your cell phone and you go to a computer and you type in the APN name and you try to connect, you're going to be rejected because you're not in the white list. Only those allowed to access that network will do so. That's why we say that there is an exclusive network for Comelec.
Well, as you explained, the only way that a third party can, or anyone can access any of the data during election day will be if they have the PIN numbers, the batons, the SD cards, and so on and so forth. But isn't there an entity that actually has control of all three, and that would be you, Smartmatic?
No, sir, because actually the configuration and logistics are all under Comelec's custody. Smartmatic has no custody of any electoral paraphernalia.
Who has custody of, for example, all of the PIN codes that have been generated? Where are they?
All the election-related information is in Comelec's possession. And especially when it comes to security matters, nothing is done without Comelec's approval. Comelec is operating the systems actually, and Smartmatic, as a part of the contract, doesn't have any involvement on the ownership or the custody of electoral data. That is all on Comelec's side.
So for example, all the PIN codes, okay, they are not generated by the individual BEIs, but they are provided by Comelec.
Yes, sir.
And they all throughout, you will have, Comelec will have custody of the...
No, Your Honor, the PIN codes and I buttons are shipped together with the machines to the polling precinct, Your Honor.
But I mean, there must be some file somewhere, an Excel file or whatever, which is the database for all of these PIN codes.
It's in the EMS, Your Honor. It's you can regenerate that, but it will now appear in the audit log of the EMS that you regenerated all the PIN codes that you've previously generated.
The EMS is in whose custody?
Comelec, Your Honor.
Comelec. So it's with you.
Yes, Your Honor.
It's with you. Okay, thank you.
Your Honor.
You are as the head of the project management office, Commissioner Lim, you are the administrator of this all of these computer systems. You have access to all of these files?
No, Your Honor. Actually, they banned me from the memory configuration room.
Memory
configuration room. That's where they generate all the pins and the I buttons. No.
Who could ban you?
The Information Technology Department.
Of Comelec?
Yes, Your Honor. They adopted a protocol that, if you're not a member of ITD, you cannot go in. So I just respected that, Your Honor.
So there is no one person in the Comelec who has access to everything? Ganun po ba yan?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that advisable or is that dangerous?
Actually, for security purposes, Your Honor, it's advisable so that no one person can control the entire process.
But Mr. Chair, seems okay. The EMS is it physically in Comelec?
It's in the Santa Rosa warehouse, Your
In
Honor.
the Santa Rosa warehouse, and what assurance do we have that, for example, no one makes a copy of the of the pins,
If you look
or
at
no
the-
one is configuring extra buttons
Okay.
on the side, no?
If you look at the Santa Rosa, Your Honor, we have equipped it with CCTV cameras with zoom capability, wherein you can close up on the configuration room on what the activities are the people are doing.
And presumably,
There are watchers. There's watchers going to the Santa Rosa warehouse for the political parties, Your Honor.
there are watchers, and I suppose there are activity logs for anyone who accesses the
Yes, Your Honor.
EMS, meron
Yes,
ba?
Your
And
Honor.
are those publicly available, or can they be made available
We can make them available after the elections, Your Honor.
after the elections? Okay, so thank you, Mr. Chair.
Can we have a strictly 3-minute break? Sige lang, balik ako agad. 1:05.
The EBBCL will be inspected by political parties.
Yes, sir po. Meron po. And then, sir, actually, at any time, they can
Are you
also...
sure of that?
Can we answer the when? Can we answer the when question? When can interested parties, especially political parties, examine the election day certified list of voters?
Sir. Mr. Chair.
Can we let Comelec answer?
Final sealing and testing, Your Honor.
So May 2 to 6 yung final testing series na pinakita nyo kanina?
Yes, Your Honor.
So during that period of time, the EDCBL is available for examination by interested parties?
By watchers.
Okay na ba, Congressman Erice? Are you satisfied with the answer?
Can I propose also, Your Honor?
Why not i-publish nyo na ngayon
Yung what we can do, Your Honor, is we can publish perhaps a voters list per precinct. No, just the names, no addresses, no sex, no age, just the names. We can do that so that right now you can already verify online whether that voter is included in the. We can do that, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair.
Online, you can make it available.
Online.
Wait, how soon can you do that? Marami interesado dyan, actually.
How soon can we do that? Online.
Voters list, no? Simplified voters list.
Actually, sir, meron na po tayong, for example, myself, sir, if I want to check the status of my registration, including the status of my ID, and where will I vote, and where is it located, okay, we can use the precinct finder facility of our website to check if indeed
it's the concern of an individual, no?
Putri, tapos these are the names of the voters under that precinct. How soon can we do that?
if it is PCBL, sir, it could be ready, sir, within a week time, sir.
Mr. Chair.
So can we commit to that by next week, after Holy Week? Yeah? Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Congressman Elise?
it's okay with me if you can publish the names in a week's time. Then after that, on May 2 to 6, we will have to verify it with your election officers.
Mr. Chair, I have just a little to add to what Congressman Elise is
Chong,
saying.
yes, please.
Actually, this represents a very serious loophole in our election system. Yung election day certified voters list, nawawala ho yung mga pangalan doon. And normally, sir, yung leader ho ninyo ang tatargetin. Kasi pag nawala yung leader nyo doon sa presinto, lilipat yan sa kabilang presinto, maghahanap po nasaan siya. Eh, yung mga akay-akay nyo mga botante, wala na ho silang ulo. Kaya, ang price tag ho is 300 pesos per head as of 2010. At nangyayari ho talaga yan. I don't know how much is the price tag now in 2015, 2016 pala. I'm just putting that on record, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Okay, but we'll have an improvement by posting online of the simplified voters list.
PCBL, Your Honor, online.
RP?
PCBL, posterized computer,
Posted computerized voters list.
Posted computerized voters list. Okay.
Okay. Well, sir, yung pass po natin kasi, whenever that is requested, may certain legal fees yun. So ngayon, lalabas na, wala na pong ano yun, libre na, lalabas yun. So, if that is...
online. No, I think, no, you will do it, huh? You will do it because...
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, we are covered by media and political parties will get to know of this development. At least
Secure lang po kami, sir, ng ano.
Nationwide. Nationwide ito. Nationwide.
JCOC.
Because the chairman said that this will be the most transparent election, so part of transparency. So we're aiming for 100% transmission. How are we doing?
Director Ferdi de Leon will be the one to report on the transmission, Your Honor.
100%. When I say 100% successful transmission, yan ang goal natin. Yes.
Okay. Sir, before, if you will permit, I have a presentation for this. But before that is being prepared, sir, ma-insert ko lang po that for the behavior in the central office in the IPD, for this registration records being received by IPD, There's no design in the system right now po doon that deletes records. They are just tagged and deactivated. If in the records of the field officers, they are also tagged as deactivated. So the design in the server or in the applications that we are using right now po sa EDCBL doesn't allow deletion. So unless the field
Yung
deactivate.
Yung election day CBL mo will indicate a voter has been tagged, deactivated, nakasulat,
Yes.
big bold letters ba, deactivated, nakasulat na gano'n?
It will not be shown in the EDCBL printout, but in the database of the field officers that we just...
So somebody can still pretend to be that person? Or that actual person deactivated can still vote?
No, sir, because it's no longer appearing in the EDCBL and even dun sa kanyang PCBL.
Wala na siya sa EDCBL. As a printed, wala na siya. Pero sa master file mo, nandun.
Kasi po, in cases when the person wants to have himself reactivated. So at least...
okay, basta sa printed, wala na. Yung guide ng BI, di ba? Okay, so, are you ready?
Okay, this is two-part. One is the result of the bidding po that was conducted for the election results transmission solutions and management services. Okay, and this was of course through the public bidding. Next slide. Okay, and through this minute resolution numbers 150791, okay, the BAC, the Bids and Awards Committee, resolves to award through negotiated procurement the service of the ERTS-MS to Smartmatic. And prior to that po, next slide. Okay, that's the part of the resolution of BAC. Given the best and final offer, next slide. Sa backgrounder po, as provided by BAC in that resolution, there were 4 bidders participated and they were evaluated based on bid offer, eligibility requirements, next, technical capability, next, and readiness. Okay, so based on that negotiated procurement conducted, next slide, it was awarded to Smartmatic Corporation. Next. Okay, so proceeding with the transmission plan. Okay. Next. As a backgrounder, this is the scope of the project. It will be deployed to 92,509 vote counting machines in the Philippines, or in 36,781 polling centers. And as mentioned earlier, through a private network, okay, secured channel, canvassing servers, and BCMs, this will also be isolated from internet. For this particular election, some of the polls will also be provided with transmission devices, particularly the canvassing centers. I understand 18 posts will have this. Next slide. Okay, so one of the transmission media that will be used are the wireless services, or GPRS, 3G. So USB modems have been part of the deliverables in the 23,000 and 70,000 BCM. So we have 95,000 of these that could be deployed in our BCMs. And this will serve as main transmission media for the BCMs with wireless coverage. So total SIM cards It's 95,572, okay, corresponding to 95,572. So again, only private data services, no calls, no SMS, no internet. So you will see there po sa baba, Smart, okay, Globe and Sun Cellular will provide the airtime services. Next slide. Okay, part po ng deliverables ng provider is the conduct of the site survey. And upon the receipt of the notice to proceed last February 10, they conducted a 3 to 4 week site survey, and based on their submitted report just this last weekend, okay, they found that polling centers with wireless coverage involved 30,528, while without GPRS or coverage, it's 6,253. If you will convert po yung 6,253 na polling centers into polling places, it's around 8,200 something. I can follow that up because the transmission deployment plan for us been turned over to us this weekend. So we are conducting a review of all those of that plan. Next slide. So another transmission media that will be deployed is the Broadband Global Area Network, or the BGAN. Okay, so originally po, on their proposal, they will be deploying 4,500 units of this together with the SIM cards and internal battery. No? And again, only private data services, no calls, no SMS, and no internet. You can see po dun sa baba, with the partners of the provider of the BGAN transmission media, yung add value po serves as the manufacturer of the hardware, Inmarsat is the distributor, MBS is the airtime service provider. Next slide. However, if I may ulit, no? 2013 for the SIM cards, 90,000 po ang na-provide. This time around 95,000 plus. No? For the BGANs, 2013 it was 4,800. Right now, as of this date, it's 5,400 plus. No? And we are still validating po yung kanilang site survey, and I think there will be additional BGANs that will have to be deployed, around I think 1,500 plus. We can source the other BGANs po from the OST. We had requested for the to borrow yung 100 units po ng BGAN so that we could para minimize cost. We can just have the airtime service activation for that effect na, instead of leasing pa the hardware. Now, we are showing here the advantage po of BGAN as something that is global, with global coverage, no, na hindi lang po within our country, but even other countries. That's why the initiative to also deploy electronic transmission sa OPOB po natin has also been recommended and approved by the NBank for 18 posts. So we'll be deploying 18 BGANs po dito po sa mga different posts, plus a contingency of another BGAN. Okay, so that's why 36. Okay, unlike sa BSAT po, which will be following the slide, ang BSAT po is according sa provider, may limitation as far as coverage is concerned. No? Yung mga kanilang mga ni-request to provide offers. Next slide. Okay, so proceeding with another transmission media. Okay, that's the very small aperture terminal, or BSAT. This will be deployed mainly sa ating po mga canvassing centers. No? So again, together with the other satellite and wireless services, only private data, no internet access. And a total of 864 BSATs will be deployed. Compare po nung 2013, which was just 682. So ang hardware manufacturer po niyang BSAT, according to the distributor and airtime services provider na WIT, is Tycom. So no BSATs for polling centers. Except for the OPPO, the B-guns will be deployed sa mga polling centers lang po. Wala tayong kasi BSATs and DSLs and the other wireless transmission media will be deployed in the canvassing centers. Next slide. Okay, so as earlier mentioned, though BSATs provides more reliable satellite connection, yung coverage nga lang po is limited. Okay? And the installation on-site is much complex and talagang kailangan may specialty dun sa pag-deploy, pag-install, pag-configure ng BSATs. No? So, yun lang po ang limitation na itong BSATs na ito. And currently po, I understand since last week, these BSATs are being deployed right now sa mga identified canvassing sites na po natin and being turned over with proper testing and training doon po sa ating mga election officers. So, para i-accept doon. So, binibuild na po doon sa mga canvassing sites. Okay, next slide. Lastly, we will also be deploying the digital subscriber line or yung wired, po natin, connections, DSLs. Okay, and together with BSATs and wireless, yung USB po natin, mga SIM cards, this will also be deployed. So from 200 in 2013, 493 will be deployed on the canvassing sites. Again, those are the partners who will provide airtime services. Okay, next slide po. Okay, so answering po yung transmission plan strategy. So you will see po yung mga different combinations of deployment that will be conducted. So the wireless coverage information from the site survey in selected sites and transmissions from 2013. Kinuha po yun as an input for those that were not site surveyed. No? And those that need to be site surveyed, yun po yung naging reference documents para po dito sa strategy ng transmission plan for 2016. B-guns are deployed in areas with no GPRS coverage as they have global coverage. So, 1 B-gun per site. So, yung na-mention po natin kanina doon, na around 6,000 polling centers. Canvassing centers, main transmission media will be the wired or satellite. Okay? And others will serve as secondary. The biggest 200 polling centers with transmission issues in 2013, we will, based on the deployment plan of the provider, will be reinforced with a B-gun. And again, CCS, the canvassing sites for 18 posts, will be using B-guns because of, again, their global coverage. Next slide. For the polling centers, polling places, every BCM will transmit using the transmission media provided. So again, for the BCMs, the media provided are USB modems or B-guns, depending po dun sa location and coverage. Pag meron naman po mga locations with coverage from 2 different telcos, SIM cards from both providers will be delivered to the polling center. Okay? If a BCM fails to transmit using the USB modem and other BCM was able to transmit into the same polling center, the USB modem will be shared. This will be the contingency in case of hardware failure or the telco. In polling centers with a single BCM and coverage from 2 telcos, dalawa pong modems ang ating i-provide. And in locations with B-guns, if there is a hardware failure, other B-gun will be transported from the nearest location. And according to the deployment plan, B-guns that can be shared are those that are near with each other, okay, as employed last 2013. What is the improvement here? If in 2013, one modem is being used by 5 BCMs, ito po, dalawa lang. Practically dalawa, or tigit-tigisa. No? Okay, next slide. At the CCS level, as mentioned earlier, DSL, BSAT, okay, will be deployed for the BGAN, that will be for the OPPO. No? Canvassing centers with coverage will be provided also with USB modems as a contingency, as mentioned earlier. CCS in remote areas only covered by BGAN will receive 2 BGANs. No? So, this is something that we are validating right now because as earlier indicated in the report, no BGANs will be deployed in the canvassing sites. So any failure of the main transmission media in a canvassing center will be reported to the National Technical Support Center in order to be fixed as soon as possible. Okay, next slide. Okay, as performed or done during the 2010 and 2013, transmission will be served and transmitted to these 3 destination sites. Okay, the next, the canvassing level, central, and transparency sites. Okay, next slide. Okay, as to the transmission readiness desk, earlier mentioned, okay, sometime in the 3rd or last week of April po, there will be an activity, itong transmission readiness test. Now, wherein the test that multiple devices can transmit from any telecom network to any other telecom network at the same time will be conducted. No? So, para po itong stress test, gagawin po yan. Ha? Okay? Stress test yan. Okay? Combinations, okay? BGAN to SAN, BGAN to PLDT, BGAN to BGAN, BGAN to BSAT. Yun po, yung mga combinations na yan. Okay, we've done that in 2013. We will, I understand po, we will expand the coverage of these areas for the transmission readiness test. Next slide. Okay, we will also be doing tests of every device, whether BCM or CCS, that can transmit from any telecom network to another telecom network. Okay, so this is one thing that we will also be doing as part of the transmission readiness test. Next. Okay, it will be done after the whole network be deployed and configured, meaning po, once the 3 backhaul connectivity sites are already in place, okay, ito nga rin pong period na to, yung 3rd week to 4th week, okay, kasama po yan sa test, okay, including the high availability, failover test, okay, connectivity test, all those will be part of the entire coverage of the transmission readiness test. And it will employ the use of the wireless, the DSL, BSAT, and BGANs. Next slide. I think that's the last. Sorry, this is the schedule. Okay, and we will be responsible for all these activities po. So that ends my presentation for the transmission plan. Thank you po.
So, looks like on paper, everything is ready. Pero April 25 to 29, nyo pa matitest?
Actually, sir, we are, that was the plan given to us by Smartmatic, but we are looking at it, sir, as a 3rd week. As mentioned earlier din po, everything will be in place by April 15. So, the week after that will be a more viable,
So, the dead spots will be covered, yun yung biga na, no? So,
yes, sir.
Okay, so actually you're giving us more than we expected. You have overseas posts also to be electronically transmitting their results. Ganun po ba yun? Is that the purpose of covering 18 posts?
The canvassing, sir. The canvassing results will be transmitted from the canvassing to Congress and to COMELEC and BOC.
So that's the result of the post, tama?
Yes, as a country.
Of the country. Of your country. So, kunyari, let's use Japan. There are two posts, Osaka and Tokyo.
They will go to the capital. They will consolidate all in the canvassing, and the canvassing, once consolidated, the results will be transmitted from Tokyo, which I think is capital, to NBOC and Congress.
So, 18. So, yung iba,
like example, Your Honor, USA, either San Francisco, New York, Los Angeles, I don't know what other areas, and Washington, D.C. Once they have closed, they will now go converge to Washington, D.C. And Washington, D.C. will consolidate all the results and will transmit to the Philippines.
okay, so,
If I may add also, Your Honor, just minor corrections. The modem is 4G capable, so it's not just 3G. Second, also, Your Honor, during FTS, although UNA is contesting this, we intend to have a transmission also during FTS of all machines so that we can see what areas we will also be having problems. And this will be a 100% coverage, Your Honor.
the protest of UNA is based on what argument?
They are afraid, Your Honor, that if we have a ping, it may unleash some malicious lines that will change the counting of the votes. No? But we have shown them the source code, including how the ping will operate, the data packet of FTS, and there's no malicious lines, but they're still not comfortable with that.
Yung concern, yung paghahalo ng resulta, wala bang ano yun? Wala bang, where will the results be sent? In the FTS? Another
central server, Your Honor.
But it's the same central server which will also receive the official results?
No, the central server will receive results, but the official is the one na canvassing, Your Honor.
No. On election day, the BCMs will now send 3 transmissions.
Yes, Your Honor.
In the final testing and sealing, how many transmissions?
Just one, Your Honor, to the canvassing. To the central server.
And is that the same central server to which the BCMs will send the transmission after the results are counted?
Yes, Your Honor.
So how do you now
we wanted to
the danger of mixing the data, or is it zero mo ba yun, or what do you do? Why risk the central server by letting it accept the results?
What we wanted to know, Your Honor, is that since in the transmission readiness test, it will be only in selected areas, but in the FTS, now you're testing all areas, so you can see now that's really the most accurate because you'll be testing from all machines. No, you can detect which areas will have problems, and we can see how we can mitigate those problems. Your Honor.
You'll have a week, di ba? One week. Pero yun na, the server now, the central server received votes, data.
Actually, sir, the provider is still due to present us the detailed plan of this because before we can be guided enough if indeed we need to do that.
When can we get that copy of the detailed plan? Once the ITD receives it, can you give the committee a copy? But when, Smartmatic, when can you commit to submit the detailed detailed transmission
plan during the risks that may accompany them?
Mr. Garcia?
Sir, with regards to this transmission test that is being proposed to be done, the only thing that is transmitted, this is a small information package that contains the ID of the machine. It's like sending a Xerox copy of your ID. Okay, this is who I am, just presenting yourself to the system. What is the idea behind this? So it can be monitored which machines are going to be capable of transmitting on election day. There is no results, no detailed signatures of the VIs, no detailed certificates, nothing. It's just the ID of the machine, so we can monitor it and say, okay, this one transmitted, so we're good on that one, no? With regards to the plan on how this is going to be conducted, this is going to be part of the transmission readiness test protocols that we will be providing to COMELEC. Since this is going to happen after the transmission readiness test, we're going to be providing all the protocols. No? We are expecting to have this done by first week of April, so we can discuss it with COMELEC for the review, so we can have plenty of time to change it or adjust it if necessary by second week of April.
Okay, so that's still a plan, no? So hindi pa final yun. Okay, so, yes, Dr. Celis?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, we're just wondering with the decision of the Commission on Elections with regard to Smartmatic being chosen as the provider or the service provider, because in the past, in 2009 or 2010 rather, the failure of transmission was 9%, and then in 2013 it was 24%. But in spite of that, why still Smartmatic? Is that not part of the criteria in choosing the service provider? It might be 50% or 30 or 40% failure of transmission in this coming May 2016 elections because of the past performance.
Don't we have a penalty clause, or did we require them to post a bond?
There's a performance bond. There's also penalty clause, depending on what areas you fail to transmit, Your Honor. That was made clear in this contract, Your Honor. And second, also, Your Honor, before we proceeded to award to Smartmatic, we exerted all efforts to meet with the telecoms, no, to get them to be the ones to, but they rejected. So we had to go through with the prospective bidders. No, you actually wanted dealing directly with the telecoms, but they don't want to.
I ask Dr. Celis.
We would also like to request audit log of transmission, because in the past hearings we had with the telcos, no, there was a heated debate between Smartmatic and the telcos, because the telcos were saying that our telecommunications facilities were up and running, but the Smartmatic was saying, no, you're not up, you're down. So we would like to have transmission logs, audit logs, not only to determine which points would not be able to transmit, and then we would also find out the possibility of why did we have this 60-30-10, because we believe that transmission of election results had something to do with the 60-30-10 pattern that we had in 2013.
Okay, so the request is transmission audit logs. Is that possible? That's generated by the telcos?
We do not deal directly with the telcos.
Yeah, but is it possible that the aggregator can require, because you're paying them a lot of money anyway?
Yeah, we can discuss with the telcos to give us the information regarding the services that they are rendering to us, telling us which were the, for instance, in the case of the VSATs, which were the VSATs that were activated, in case of the vegans, which were the vegans that were used, in case of the SIM cards, which SIM cards were used. Also, all that information can be provided. Yeah. We will require certain...
That's the log, Dr. Celis, that's the log you're looking for? Ano yung contents niya?
Yes,
Who used the private network?
Yes.
What SIM card? What
everything
SIM...
else.
Okay.
What were these data that were transmitted? When was this transmitted? If that's
So
the case, all particulars about
the chairman committed that this will be the most transparent. So audit logs of the machine, audit logs of the CCS, na audit logs of the telco.
If I may, sir, then if I get you correctly, Mr. Celis, you want information with regards to when the results were transmitted from the VCM, when they were received from the CCS, and which was the transmission media used or the telco used. If that is the case, then we don't have to ask the telcos for this one, because the telcos are just carriers. They will just get a package transmitted, they don't know the contents, they don't know what it's about. So what we have to take a look at is all the audit logs that they have been asking for. In the machines logs, you will take a look at the entries where they will say transmission to municipal server was done on May 9 at this time. For transparency and for central, the same thing. And in the audit logs of each of the MBOCs, PBOCs, and so on, you will also have similar entries saying, I received a transmission from voting machine 123 on May 9 at this time. So you will be able to take a look at those, parse them, and get information that you want to look at.
Okay, but can we ask the telcos what logs they can also provide us?
Sure, they can only give us information regarding whether a SIM card was
Yeah, the
used
use
or not.
the use of their
Yes, that
the
information
use
is
of their
provided.
virtual private network and the SIM cards, etc.
That can be provided.
Okay, Dr. Zelis, and if this will be an improvement.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. And then we would also ask the Technical Evaluation Committee to ensure or to certify that the servers would not be able to be remotely controlled. Because in the past there were servers that were remotely controlled. That means the contents or the results of the elections were tampered.
Engineer Banso?
This is part of the security hardening process for the canvassing servers. We deliberately remove the service that allows remote users to log in from over the internet.
So as of today, you can certify that the servers cannot be remotely accessed or controlled?
The ones that have undergone the pre-lot process, so far, there's no way to access them remotely.
Okay, but you'll still have your final certification anyway. Congressman Tino?
Yes, Chair. So, based on the presentation, it appears that COMELEC is now targeting and promising 100% electronic transmission of results from precinct level to canvassing. Am I correct in that?
Targeting, Your Honor.
Targeting, okay. So, if all goes according to plan, then that would mean much faster results. No, how long would would the public be able to know the results if everything goes according to plan and results are transmitted electronically?
Actually, Your Honor, the results may be longer because we are also targeting a 100% reporting. Ibig sabihin, hindi kami bababa ng, ganito, Your Honor, under the CCS, you can now lower the threshold per position. No? So let's say for mayor, if the lead is 100,000 and there's only one precinct missing, which is 800 votes, you can lower the threshold, you can proclaim the mayor. But you will continue canvassing for national. Because if you lower the threshold in each and every parcel, it will have an effect, especially if national will be closed. No? That's why we cannot, because depending if now we're targeting 100% reporting, meaning all results should be in before the canvassing transmits to the next level, it may take longer.
All right, I mean, I understand you're talking about. I used the word results, and obviously that would imply proclamation and so on. And syempre may mga requirements doon. Pero hindi po ba may direct transmission to, I think you call it a transparency server, and then isn't that publicly?
Yes, Your Honor. Kasama yan, Your Honor. But ang sa amin nga, we're endeavoring to have 100% for national. To count all the votes for national.
And in the event that there are failures of transmission, paano naman po yung mga backup measures ninyo? Would it be like in the previous election where I think the cards are brought to the municipio, the canvassing center?
Yes, Your Honor.
So
and in fact, we have a machine, the VCM machine at the canvassing center, so that the teachers can make use of that machine to transmit, not only to the canvassing but also to the transparency and to central.
Commissioner Lim, or to the COMELEC, what is now the status of the No Bayo, No Boto program? Just to be clear about it. Na-TRO kayo, and then what happened?
The Supreme Court dismissed the petition, Your Honor. So more or less, we were able to deactivate about 2.5 million voters.
2.5 million. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, no need for the candidates now to worry about the 2.5, no? Kasi yan yung mga lumalabas na concerns eh.
Yes, Your
Na
Honor.
meron 2.5. So, deactivated na.
Yes, Your Honor.
As of today, deactivated na.
As of December, Your Honor.
So when the EDCBL is printed, wala na sila doon?
Wala na po.
Yes, Dr. Celis.
Sir, Mr. Chairman, we would like to raise also on the issue that happened in 2013 sa PPCRB. What is the plan of the COMELEC with regard to the transparency server and the one that was injected in between, which is the intermediary server? And what would be the procedure if there would be a problem during the elections? Will there be technical people from Smartmatic that should go in the PPCRD transparency server? Because you know what happened during that time.
If I may answer, Your Honor, we don't call it intermediary, they're the end users. So you have the dominant majority party, dominant minority party, PPCRB. In 2013, we allowed the networks to have access aside from KBP. But as the result of the experience, I think we've learned better. We will not interfere in any, we are informing Smartmatic that they cannot interfere in any, the results being churned out by PPCRB subject we had no control, no, or any of the data, nor we had knowledge of what programs they were using. But we are now prohibiting Smartmatic from interfering with any of how the political parties will come out with the results.
Okay, so those with corrupted biometrics data can still vote. That's the rule, no?
Depends, Your Honor. If the biometrics were corrupted prior to ERB hearing, and the ERB does not grant them the status, because out sila. But if it occurred after ERB, then they're still allowed to vote, Your Honor.
Anyway, I will just conduct a hearing to find out why we have corrupted the biometrics database. And then, of course, what cause of the corruption, then, of course, the budget spent for biometrics databasing. Okay, so I understand former Commissioner Lagman has a presentation to make. Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you very much.
What is this about, sir? What is this about?
A slide presentation about the public website.
Good.
That we discussed last meeting. Is it already?
Can we prepare the screen, please? This is an improvement, but if COMELEC should adopt this.
They already committed to adopting it, and I'd like to thank them for agreeing to that. But I just want to put it on record because I did not see it in any of the presentations earlier.
Let's hear them once again commit to it.
Is it
okay? After you present, can we prepare the screen? But did you give them the USB?
I emailed it earlier, but I have it here as well.
While waiting for that, no?
This is, in my humble opinion, Mr. Chairman, the strongest safeguard that we can include in the entire system to make our elections credible. And it's not being discussed at all in their preparations, in their presentation earlier, might mean that they're not seriously considering doing it.
Let us quote the TSN page number where they committed to do it. During the last hearing ba?
Last hearing.
February 16.
Last hearing,
February 16.
Mr. Chairman. February 16?
February 16. Maybe Commissioner Christian Robert Lim will remember if he sees your presentation.
This first slide, it's only a 5-slide presentation. This first slide shows our election system. on the leftmost block, we see the reading of the ballots on the upper half, and in the lower half, the precinct counting. The result of precinct counting will then be transmitted electronically to the City Municipal Board of Canvassers. We all know about this ladderized system. The CMBOC will produce the SOV, Statement of Votes, which is a list of all of the candidates and the votes that they garnered in each and every precinct. The COC is, of course, a summary of that SOV, and that will be transmitted to the Provincial Board of Canvassers. It will produce the provincial SOV and COC, and those will be transmitted to the National Board of Canvassers. At the precinct level, 30 copies of the election returns will be produced. Next slide, please. There are 6 points of vulnerability to cheating in our election system. Just 6 points of vulnerability. The first is in the reading of ballots, precinct counting, electronic transmission, the canvassing at the municipal level, provincial, and national. Next slide, please. To mitigate this, the first one, we have the VVPAT. And let's not be deluded into thinking that, we might get a false sense of security. All that the VVPAT will do is prove to us that the reading of the ballot was accurate, that there was no intentional or unintentional misreading of the ballot, which can also happen in a manually conducted elections. No? Okay, let me go to the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. I will skip the 2nd, which is precinct counting. Next slide, please. If we can put all of the election returns received by the MBOC into a public website, you can view the voters in the precincts and the political parties can then view the public website and compare what is in there with the election returns that were printed at the precinct level. If what was received at the MBOC is the same as what was sent, as can be seen in the election returns, that means that nothing happened, no tampering happened during the transmission, isn't it? I mean, if what was received is the same as what was sent, then no tampering was done during electronic transmission, and therefore, vulnerability number 3 at that point would be clean. If, however, tampering was done, we would be able to catch it, because what would appear in the public website will be different from the election returns. So we would catch it. Next slide, please. And then finally, if the political parties or anybody for that matter would download the contents of the public website and do his own tabulation, he can check whether the canvassing done at the municipal level is accurate, at the provincial level, if the canvassing there was accurate, and also at the National Board of Canvassers. Actually, dagdag bawas happens in the Municipal Board of Canvassers and the Provincial Board of Canvassers. And if COMELEC can implement this well, this would be the end of dagdag bawas, which our chairman knows was institutionalized in 1995, the dagdag bawas. With this, goodbye dagdag bawas, goodbye 60-30-10. Because we will see if the consolidation at the municipal level and at the provincial level are not accurate, we would catch it. Now, while this is a very simple solution that will enhance the credibility of our elections, this can be a bit tricky in the sense that it will be exposed to external hacking. or denial of service because it's exposed. The public website is exposed. So it is important for the technical people, maybe also aided by the DOST, to make sure that that is secure. Maybe there should be multiple sites, and maybe they should refresh it every so often, so that even if one is hacked, a new fresh batch of election returns would be uploaded. Maybe there should be a separate private website exclusively for the dominant party, dominant opposition, media, and the citizens' arms, so that that particular website can only be accessed by them. This very simple system can actually make the digital signature a bit irrelevant. Because if what was received is the same as what was sent, then you don't really care who sent it. But of course, it's required by law. But this will enhance the credibility by a lot. And I was just wondering why it was not presented earlier. So this is...
What did COMELEC agree to, as far as you remember, on February 16?
The creation of that public website where all of the election returns
wala na yung isang wala na yung private website for the dominant kasi parang ngayon ko lang narinig yun
but I am suggesting that to protect that public website, to make it secure. I'm only suggesting that.
Basta as far as you can recall, COMELEC already agreed to this public website.
And that it should come from the Municipal Board of Canvassers. If you will recall, you asked me where it should come from. It should be the official one, so that there's no question later that, that's not the same as what we're canvassing.
Thank you, Commissioner Congressman Tino.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, my question was, in the previous election, there was this, and even in this current election, the machine at the precinct level will transmit to the server, the national server, and then the Board of Canvasser server, but also to a transparency server. And in my understanding, the results in that transparency server are in fact made available on a public website. Now, so in what way is this system you're describing different, and in what way is this one better, and in what way is the current system inferior, or is there a way to isn't the transmission from the vote counting machine at the precinct level, isn't that in effect the ER?
In 2010 and 2013, they were transmitting to 3 points: the Municipal Board of Canvassers, the transparency server, and a central server, I believe. And the problem was, not all, the 3 were not the same. There were successful transmissions to the first, but unsuccessful to the second and the third. So they were not the same, and so we cannot check. If it's not complete, then it's impossible to check the accuracy of the official one. That's why the preference here is not preference. It should come from the Municipal Board of Canvassers, so that it is an exact copy of the official one. I hope that answers your question, Kong.
Yes, Dr. Serrano.
What we are doing in PPSCRB is more than what former Commissioner Gaslekman have presented. In our setup, we have assigned precinct poll watchers for all the clustered precincts nationwide. That's one. Second, we have the 4th copy of the election returns. We even have another copy for the 27th to the 30th copy of the election return after transmission. Some of our poll watchers even photograph the results of the 8 copy of the election return prior to transmission. We even set up parallel counts nationwide, although not 100%. But for 2016, we are trying to commit also 100% parallel counts, especially for local candidates. We even have watchers in almost all of the canvassing centers. We have a national command center near the transparency server, where we have also young people who are physically encoding and also comparing these encoded results to the results of the 3 electronic transmission results. COMELEC has promised that from the transmitted results to the COMELEC central server, that they will have a public website, and I even heard talaga na they committed that, and it's even in the transmission plan of the COMELEC for this election. So more than what former Commissioner Gaslagman have presented, we are already doing that in 2010, 2013, and much more so in these 2016 elections.
May I respond to that, Mr. Chairman? I ran the Operation Quick Count of NAMFREL from 1984 to 2007. We were getting copies of the election returns, and we were encoding. And admittedly, there were mistakes in encoding. Fortunately, we had enough controls to be able to make those corrections. We're picking up here from the official election returns received by the Municipal Board of Canvassers. Nothing can be more accurate than that. No encoding is involved. What is received at the Municipal Board of Canvassers will be uploaded to the public website.
Can I ask COMELEC if is there going to be any problem if we adopt that
Number one, Your Honor, we didn't present that because it was not part of the agenda. Number two, Your Honor, on February 19, in a meeting called with political parties and the accredited citizens arm, present were Dr. Serrano representing PPCRB, Liberal Party, NPC, UNA, and also lawyers of independent candidate Grace Poe. It was agreed that they preferred that the public website will echo the results that we received from the central server. That was the consensus of the political parties, the central server. And second, also, Your Honor, we explained to them that due to have to scan the election results with the signatures of the BEI, it will be too difficult for purpose of transmission, that we would just publish the results as is, and they were conformable with that, no? And second, also, the certificates of canvass that we'll be receiving will also be published in the public website.
Very obviously, Mr.
Chair, just some clarifications here. So there will be 3 transmissions from the vote counting machine. So one will be to the Municipal Board of Canvassers, and that is a transmission that is
that's the official.
The official. Then you have the transparency server, which goes to a public website. Then you have a central server.
No, the transparency server will not go to a public website.
Sorry. Okay. So could you clarify how?
The ones who have access to the transparency server will be at least, for now, the dominant majority party, dominant minority party, KBP, and the accredited citizens arm.
All right. So you have a transparency server, which is only available to certain parties.
Yes.
Then you have the central server.
Yes, Your Honor.
And this is available to...
it's the results received in the central server that will be made available in the public website.
All right.
The political parties wanted the results of the central server so that they can compare the results of the central server, the results in the transparency server, and the results on the ground.
Okay. And former Commissioner Lagman mentioned that there are discrepancies between the 3 because, for example, in previous elections, at the local level, a transmission may be successful to one server but not the other. What is your current protocol with respect to that? wala ba kayong requirement na dapat maging successful 100%?
Yes, we emphasize that, Your Honor.
Or do you allow, well, if you can't transmit to the central server after 2 tries, wala na.
Okay.
What's your exact procedure here?
In the exact procedure, Your Honor.
Precisely to ensure that the transmissions, the information received by all 3 servers will be the same and comparable.
Okay. First, Your Honor, is that the machine will prompt the sending of the transmissions to the different 3 units. No. Now, for example, if the BI did not follow that and just he is fine with the transmission to the canvassing and does not anymore transmit to the other 2 sites. The second one is part of the general instructions for canvassing, Your Honor. We adopted that after proclamation of the local, the Board of Canvassers will have to manually upload all the SD cards that they receive, because as a part of protocol, the BEI is required to submit the main SD card to the Board of Canvassers. They will now require to upload, and the canvassing will now will also retransmit the results to the central and to the transparency server here.
Mr. Chairman,
Meaning to say, there is a way to know to which transmission the BCM failed?
Yes, Your Honor.
There is a way?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor. Lalabas na yan, transmitting to central server, then lalabas failed. Transmitting to canvassing server, tas success. Mag-move on.
Okay, for the SD card to be manually transmitted to the municipal canvassing, you should have failed to transmit it to what server?
No, Your Honor. Whether or not you transmit it or not, you are required to submit the SD cards to the Board of Canvassers. So we created a redundancy wherein the Board of Canvassers would have to upload the SD cards so that the results can be, we can be ensured that all results are also with the central and transparency.
So ngayon, the rule now is all SD cards will be delivered to the
all main SD cards.
All the main SD cards.
Yes.
And then how will the municipal board know which failed to transmit?
No, Your Honor, it's standard protocol. They have to upload everything.
Everything.
Whether it's transmitted or not, they have to upload everything.
Or when you say upload to what server?
They will upload it to the canvassing server, and the canvassing server will transmit to central and transparency.
Again, so what happens now to those precincts
that has already
successfully transmitted?
It will just disregard the incoming transmission, Your Honor.
Sure kayo doon?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, Mr. Chair.
Okay, say Congressman.
Mr. Chair, what the COMELEC is saying now is that for this election, 100% of the result will be uploaded in one way or another and made available to the public, for instance.
That's what we're targeting.
Natatandaan ko po nung nakaraang election, after a certain point, you stop updating the public website.
That's what we're targeting, Your Honor.
So, para sa eleksyon ito, the public should expect that 100% of the results will be reflected in the public website.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Sir Lagman.
And uploading means no manual input of votes.
No. Saksak mo lang yung SD card sa CCS laptop, then they will press the import, then it will throw to the central and canvassing, central and transparency.
No, it will isa-isa, one SD card, one clustered precinct, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ipasok mo ito, pasok muna siya sa canvas ng municipal.
Kung pasok to sa canvas, it will just disregard the results. Kung nakatransmit na siya sa canvas, it will just disregard the results. But magbabato na rin siya sa central sa transparency.
Ulitin talaga.
Ulitin niya.
Okay. So yes, Commissioner Lagman.
It's very obvious that my solution is simpler. They also intended to make the 2 other servers complete, and one of them was supposed to provide or upload the database to the public website. It did not happen in 2010. It did not happen in 2013. We could not compare from the public website, we could not compare it with the official results. The most sure, the most certain one would be the one coming from the Municipal Board of Canvassers. And Commissioner Lim just said that they will be uploading everything to the boards of canvassers anyway. Pick it up from there. Why do we have to wait that it be transmitted to the transparency server before it's uploaded to the public website? Why not upload it directly from the boards of Municipal Board of Canvassers? It's much simpler. There are 92,500 precincts. Some of them are in the mountains, and where the signal is probably very bad. We are only talking of 1,630 canvassing points, municipal canvassing points, and they're mostly at the middle or at the center of the municipalities, where signal will probably be good. So it's best to pick it up from there. I mean, it's obvious that it's easier to pick it up from there. Put it in the public website, and the credibility of our elections will be enhanced. The political parties who attended the February 19 meeting probably don't know of this. I mean, they were probably misinformed, and so whatever, you can lead them to any position because they don't understand this. I mean, I don't blame them. So, it's the simplest and most accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so, but your suggestion has been put on record, and also COMELEC's decision. They have not adopted your suggestion, but they will have an improvement this time because they will be doing what the BIs are doing all over again at the MBOC level.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and hopefully there will be complete transmission because, as you said, these are centrally located areas where the signal should be present, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So they will do, as I explained?
No,
is that?
Hindi nga, iba. They will, ang mangyayari, they will, the central server is the public website, tama ba? And
Yes,
then
Your
you're
Honor.
just committing that it will be complete.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's the point. That's the point.
Why not pick it up from the Municipal Board of Canvassers?
I mean, the COMELEC has made their decision, so...
No, but it's still 2 months or almost 2 months away from the elections. It's such a simple matter.
Can you take a second look, Commissioner?
I guess you have to meet with the political parties because they want to also to compare the central transparency and the ground.
They can do
Now
that.
they have
They can
both
still
in
do
the ground and transparency, but their problem is the central. That's why they want the central to be the ones to release the public website.
Okay, Commissioner,
What I'm afraid-
maybe we should just accept the
Well, what I'm afraid
decision
of,
the
Mr.
government.
Chairman, is that later on, when they don't tally, then COMELEC will say, well, that's not the official one. Which is what they said.
May
in
built-in
2013.
excuse kasi na for the discrepancies, a failure to transmit. Yeah, yun yung built-in excuse. I know.
Exactly. So let's try and remove that so that the elections will be more credible. What are we after
So
here?
we will just request the COMELEC to take a second look at your suggestion and give us your final decision in due time. Can one concern is about the old machines. Can the old machines transmit and be accepted by the servers?
Your Honor, the old machines are of a different processing system. The software, if we use the current software being used in the new machines, the hardware cannot, the processing power of the hardware of the old machines cannot use that software, Your Honor. So, and second, Your Honor, it uses a modem that uses not a USB port but a RJ45 port, Your Honor. Not the modems that we're using now, although the new machine can accommodate both the USB port and the RJ45 ports, Your Honor. So for these elections, we cannot, without upgrading the machines, we cannot use them.
So the short answer is no.
No.
Okay. Some people have noticed the unusual increase of voters in certain regions. Do you confirm this, that there's a 26% increase in ARM and
Yes, Your Honor.
18% increase in Caraga? Are these figures confirmed?
Caraga, we have not, but we have confirmed the ARM, Your Honor. If you look at the ARM region, in 2012, when we conducted a general registration, the registration was only for 10 days. 10 days in July 2012. After that, we closed the registration. No more registration. But for 2016 elections, we started the registration in May of 2014, and we ended in October 31 of 2015. No? So the longer period you give to the armed people, the more they can find ways to fund the registration. No, but what we are doing now, Your Honor, is that we are upgrading the AFIS because the AFIS will detect the multiple registrants and we can abate the multiple registrants, Your Honor.
So, we can still, in effect, we can still, ano tawag mo na, deactivate a voter?
Not deactivate, Your Honor.
What do you call that?
In the case of Maruhom, the Supreme Court ruled that in case of a multiple registrant, the subsequent registration is void. No, we call the process abatement.
Abatement. So
Abatement.
how will it be known by the BEI?
After not the BEI, Your Honor, the AFIS, Your Honor. Once the AFIS has detected the multiple registrants, we will download to the field officers of the commission the names of the persons who should be stricken off the EDCBL and the PCBL, Your Honor, and the election officers will, before distributing to the BI, strike off the names of the multiple registrants. In the same way, Your Honor, that if there are any rulings by any court for the inclusion or exclusion of voters, they will have to manually input the names of the additional voters.
Mr. Chair,
Additional voters manually inputted, but yung abated
Manually stricken off.
from the printed
Yes, Your
EDCBL.
Honor. Yes.
So talagang there will be lines na ganon?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Si Congressman Tino.
no, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to clarify the statement of Commissioner Lim earlier. You said the longer you give for registration in ARM, the more, what did you say? They find ways to,
Pad the
did you say
votes.
pad?
Pad the votes.
Pad the votes. So that's from the Commissioner of COMELEC. You're conceding that the voters list in ARM is padded. Ganun po ba?
There are many flying voters, Your Honor, in the ARM region. I was in Maguindanao in 2012 for general registration, and they were trying to pad the votes, even in the 10-day period. You could see voters on this day registering in this area, then the next day they'll appear in the next area, and then the next, no? Even if you put indelible ink, no? And you have voters as young as 6 years old registering, no? It's a no man's zone, no?
But you have procedures for, as you said, abating.
Yes, Your Honor. In fact, we promulgated the procedure for abating. That's why the AFIS is very critical for the abatement, Your Honor.
But we are printing total number of ballots, including the
Yes, Your Honor.
including the to be abated.
Yes, Your Honor.
So if you say that you abated 10,000 voters, you'll have 10,000 extra ballots. Parang ganon. Let's just be conscious about this. So can we get a report on the total number of after you're done with the process, so that we will know.
Baka mga end April pa yan, Your Honor.
Para lang accounted for din lahat po ng barota, because of course you base your total number of ballots to be printed on the raw data, di ba? Before AFIS, before abatement, tama?
Part of the procedure, Your Honor, is at the close of voting, the BI are required to count the number of unused ballots. Then in front of the watchers, they are supposed to tear the unused ballots. One they will put in an envelope to be given to the election officer. The other part will be put in the ballot box.
Pero for example, a precinct has 400 registered voters and they manually scratch off the names of 20, but that machine will still allow 400 votes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, so hindi
yung controls, Your Honor,
hindi na mahabol yung corrected number of voters sa 380, hindi na.
Your Honor.
Okay, so if it's a no man's land, therefore, what's the conclusion?
That's why we want...
Therefore, the exercise of scratching them off is useless?
Depends.
Or could be useless.
Actually, even in no man's land, Your Honor, even if a person does not appear in the list of voters, he can still vote.
Dr. Serrano.
Yes, so
Teka muna, before Dr. Serrano. Because the figures for example, Manila, Davao, Cebu, the increase was only 4% to 6%. So there are areas down at 26% in ARM, 18% in Caraga. So can you, who's the commissioner in charge of monitoring the increase in the number of voters?
To be the chairman, Your Honor.
Chairman, so just bring it to the attention of the chairman if he finds the figures acceptable or not alarming. No? Okay. Yes, Dr. Serrano.
yes, let me also emphasize, Chair, that in the PI training, it is properly informed the PI who will be serving that all the 3 servers would have to have an electronic transmission. That's one. Second, the BCM guiding them properly that each of these 3 servers have to be electronically transmitted the results of that of the results in that clustered precinct. Third, in the GI for the CCS, there is under Section 7 the reception and custody group, wherein these main SD cards will have to be recorded properly. And in that recording, it also stated there, if in their assigned area of responsibility, it was successfully transmitted or not. So there is an indication there if all the 3 servers have successful electronic transmission, or if one of those 3 have not been transmitted. So it is also recorded there. So the BOCs now is properly guided on whom to transmit what was not transmitted successfully in their areas of responsibilities. So everything is also guided, the BI, including the one who is assigned in the reception and custody group.
Is Mr. Raul Nagrampas still here, the OIC Assistant Director of the National Printing Office? Alana, I'd just like to ask him if may problem ba sa printing. So any other matters?
Mr. Chair.
Okay, Congressman Tino.
Just a last point on that padding of the voters list in ARM. Does the COMELEC have an estimate on the possible number of padding?
I don't. Maybe I'll just refer that to the chairman, Your Honor, so we can submit the report on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
But we should look for more effective solutions, no? How to disable or not allow those who are illegally registered to vote. Kasi kung ganun, kasi binigyan, biometrics kasi hindi rin ginamit naman actually, just sa printing. Nag-improve lang yung printing ng EDCVL, no? Kasi we're actually providing them with the exact number of ballots that they are requesting. So this can be used. And then there's no safeguard built in the machine because the total number of voters allowed to be counted by the machine, or ballots allowed to be counted by the machine, is the requested number of ballots by the registrant. So I think we should find a way to improve. By 2019 siguro we have to have an improvement. Okay, so any help that is being requested by the COMELEC from Congress, from this committee, or from the stakeholders?
Actually, Your Honor, we've written to the Senate President and the Speaker of the House. No, we understand that Congress will be canvassing for the presidential. Maybe because there might be some civil works or some site survey on Congress when they do canvass. Maybe if the CACOC can expedite also, so there will be coordination, no? because you might need to inspect the sites that will be used for canvass for the transmission, Your Honor, of the results to Congress. Siguro in that aspect, Your Honor.
Okay, only in that aspect. So any other matters? So if there is no more matter to be discussed, I'd like to thank all of you for your sacrifice for today. One whole day, one whole holiday spent working. Salamat po, because we have no time to waste. No? So thank you, COMELEC, thank you everybody, thank you to all the public servants working today. So our hearing is hereby adjourned, and we'll try to have another one before the elections. Thank you very much.